This video continues with Chapter 21 Qin Yun vs Golden Lion. One Piece, The King of Fraud. Chapter 21 Qin Yun vs Golden Lion. That being the case, 10,000 thunders gather. Qin Yun looked at the golden lion below indifferently, raised his hand and waved it, and the thunderclouds suddenly burst into even more brilliant lightning. Millions of thunders gathered together and finally condensed into a huge buzzing thunderball. The giant island was getting faster and faster, and the huge thunderball suddenly screamed, swallowing the thundercloud that gave birth to it, and became even bigger. The next moment, the giant island collided with the thunderball, and the entire world was shrouded in dazzling white light. The sound of explosions continued, and the range continued to expand. Qin Yun's expression changed and he quickly flashed towards the sky. The same goes for the golden lion. He has activated Lion's Power Earth Scroll to bury his body under the thick earth. Because the sounds were too dense, the pirates could only hear a deafening roar and quickly covered their ears. Some pirates moved too slowly, causing their eardrums to rupture, and they began to roll on the ground groaning in pain. After an unknown amount of time, the aftermath of the battle gradually subsided. The huge island turned into a cloud of dust and disappeared. The pirates and creatures that had taken IQ on it perished on the spot. Even the surrounding floating islands were hit by the aftermath and were riddled with potholes. Boom! Exclamation! The golden lion moved the lion scroll in front of it away and flew into the sky again. At this time, the entire sky and earth was cloudless and the end could be seen at a glance. Therefore, he immediately saw Qin Yun high in the sky. Golden Lion waved his hand violently, and the cigar in his hand ignited under the high-speed friction. He took a deep puff of the thick smoke and laughed. Ha 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 ha. Boy, where can you hide this time? With a flash of lightning, Qin Yun appeared in the sky not far above his head. He chuckled and said, "I'm really lucky, flying pirate Golden Lion Shiki. I didn't expect to meet you here. Ha 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 ha. So you are the user of the thunder fruit. Where did you come from, little brat? You clearly know my name, but instead of trying to avoid me, you walked towards me." The golden lion's face was full of arrogance. In his eyes, only Roger could be called his opponent. "I am glad to see prey. If you can become my subordinate, I won't bother with you about your attack just now." Qin Yun was staring at the floating fruits on the golden lion and his collection of many years. How could he agree? "Oh, Golden Lion, it has come to this. Are you still so naive? No wonder Galdi. Roger looks down on you and refuses to join forces with you." As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his left hand and pulled, then his right arm, surrounded by thunder, punched forward, making an imperceptible magnetic explosion sound. Thunder turn magnetic attraction, plus God's judgment. You are such a sharp-tongued brat. When I was roaming the sea, you didn't even know where to suckle." The golden lion's two sword legs were pulled by the electromagnetic force and flew towards him involuntarily. Looking at the huge and rapid lightning column in front of him, he immediately used all his strength to break free from the restraints and narrowly escaped from the lightning column. But the cigar in his mouth was burned to ashes. "Good boy. Is this still the thunder fruit? How can it produce suction?" The golden lion shouted in doubt and uncertainty, but all he got in response was continuous thunder and lightning. Qin Yun would not explain to him the physical phenomenon of electricity generating magnetism. "Letha Thunderbird. Lions might you my earth scroll." The numerous suspended islands have gathered together under the control of the golden lion. Countless rocks and clods of earth rose from the ground, piling up into 8 mountains in the shape of lion heads, attacking Qin Yun. He also surrounded another part of it to build a defense wall. Qin Yun dodged the lightning with a flash and teleported away easily. He possessed lightning speed, and even if a dreadnought attack came, he was confident that he could remain unscathed. "Letha Thunder Dragon. What a cunning little devil." The golden lion felt extremely difficult at this moment. He was now experiencing what his previous enemies felt when facing him. This one-sided battle situation where he was being tossed about was really frustrating. Looking at the defense wall that was destroyed into pieces by the Thunderbird and the Thunder Dragon, he knew that he could not go on like this. The opponent is as fast as lightning and his attacks are powerful. Although your attacks have a wide range and great power, they will have no effect if you can't hit him. Golden Lion, is this all you have? Are you worthy of being compared with Pirate King Roger? You don't have a rudder stuck on your head and you don't know what haki is. Do you? Qin Yun looked at his aggrieved face and mocked him calmly. How could the Golden Lion tolerate being evaluated worse than Roger? He immediately glared at him and raised his foot to deliver a fierce and huge slash. Chop! It's no use, you're too slow. Qin Yun's lightning dissipated and he dodged it easily. The Golden Lion's chopping power continued unabated, and hundreds of kilometers of sea surface were easily cut through. Qin Yun gathered his hands together and condensed a thunder sword, which he waved at the Golden Lion a few times. Several sharp sword energies swept past and collided with the Golden Lion's sword a few times, causing his thigh to become numb. Golden Lion was shocked. He didn't expect that the other party was also an expert in swordsmanship. He stood still and shouted loudly, "Little devil, I recognize you. Tell me your name. I will not kill nameless people with my Golden Lion sword." In fact, Qin Yun only knew how to release sword energy. As long as no one got in close combat with a sword, no one would notice his swordsmanship. There's no need for that, Golden Lion. You're old now. Let me, a stranger, play the music of the changing times for you. Ha ha ha. You boastful brat. Let me show you why the Navy is so afraid of me. The Golden Lion roared angrily, and the surrounding rocks and soil quickly gathered towards him. Several islands in the distance also rushed forward, turning into a mud and rock torrent that continuously poured into his body. Amid the screams of the pirates on the island, the Golden Lion was eventually enveloped by a 70-meter-tall rock giant. With such a huge image, ordinary pirates would probably be scared to death just by looking at him. You know, even the ancient giant Oz was only 67 meters tall. Little devil, do you still dare to say that you can keep me here? Although Golden Lion's voice became heavy, his tone was still as arrogant as ever. Qin Yun smiled contemptuously. As his size increased, his speed slowed down accordingly, making him more likely to be hit. Why not? Golden Lion, today is the day you die. Dharma like heaven and earth thunder god. Boundless thunder suddenly erupted from Qin Yun's body, spreading violently around him, and the air became illusory due to the high temperature. The next moment, the blue thunder seemed to be stained with something indescribable and turned into a more violent purple. Crackling! Exclamation crackling! Exclamation electric arcs raged and thunder roared. The Golden Lion's expression changed drastically, and he immediately controlled the rock giant to raise his giant palm and slap Qin Yun. Then, exclamation beyond the Golden Lion's imagination, one of the rock giant's arms was blown into powder. After a flash of electric arc, the powder disappeared without a trace. Chapter 22, Harvest and the Possibility of Becoming a Multi-Fruit Ability User. The smoke and dust cleared, and a 10-meter-tall image of the god of thunder appeared on the scene. This height is not Thor's limit, but 10 meters is his strongest concentrated state. In this state, his speed, attack power, defense, and many other attributes were stretched to the extreme. Even if Kaido came, he was confident that he could use his full strength to strike Kaido and create a big hole in his body. With a flash of purple light, Qin Yun controlled the god of thunder to appear above the rock giant's head. His wrist was shaped like a cannon muzzle, and a purple thunder cannon with a destructive aura shot out quick. Too fast. Time seemed to have come to a standstill. The Golden Lion stared blankly at the purple lightning that was rapidly enlarging in his eyes, and replayed his entire life in his mind. He had no time to react and had to take the blow head-on. The rock giant was pierced through by the violent impact. My ear is it over the sea without Roger is so boring. Roger. He was filled with great despair at this moment, and could only vent his emotions by shouting in his heart in a split second. Then, he lost consciousness. For a moment, all the suspended islands seemed to lose their support and began to fall towards the sea. The purple light dissipated, the thunder god disappeared, and Qin Yun appeared beside the golden lion. He panted and put sea stone shackles on the golden lion. Qin Yun knew that wearing the sea tower stone would not make the user lose their abilities, but would only make them powerless and unable to actively use their abilities. Not only that, it can also allow people with special abilities to temporarily become ordinary people. For example, a user with a natural ability can neither actively nor passively transform into an element when exposed to sea stone, but the abilities that fundamentally change the user's human nature can still be retained. Therefore, he also needs to take some measures to ensure that the golden lion has no power to resist. Afterwards, Qin Yun grabbed the golden lion's bloody head with one hand, and the electric current surged for a moment before waking him up from his coma. The value of the golden lion had not yet been taken away by him, but he couldn't just take the ability and walk away so easily. As the golden lion regained consciousness, the island group stopped its falling trend and began to float again. The golden lion woke up slowly. He wanted to open his eyes and speak, but he found that he was full of powerlessness and could no longer control his body. Little devil you win. He could only murmur in his heart. This was of course Qin Yun's masterpiece. He shocked the vital points all over Golden Lion's body with electricity, turning him into a vegetative state where he only retained consciousness but could not control his body. Qin Yun took a deep breath and calmed himself down. The thunder god state after the fruit awakening consumed too much physical strength, and he felt that he could not bear it for a while. However, the power is also gratifying. From now on, the sky here will be covered with dark clouds, and thunder will continue to strike the sea below. Many pirates, navy ships, and even merchant ships will be swept into this sea area and suffer the baptism of thunder. Qin Yun slowed down a little, grabbed the golden lion's neck, and with a flash of lightning, he reappeared on the central island. At this time, most of Golden Lion's men had been killed or injured. Some not-so-smart pirates even jumped off the floating island, thinking they could jump into the sea to survive. However, at an altitude of 50,000 meters, they would die no matter what posture they took. Next, Qin Yun imprisoned the remaining pirates in the prisons on their islands. Under his extremely wide-ranging observation haki, no one could escape his control. He had placed Nami and the others on an isolated island where no one cared about them. The island was covered with a thunder cage, so even if a Sea King came, he would die on the spot. Whether he can become a multi-fruit ability user depends on whether the next experiment goes smoothly. Qin Yun knew in his heart that he would never be able to become the only true god in this world just by relying on the thunder fruit. Even if his imagination was blessed by his experience on Blue Star, he couldn't do it. Putting aside the endless stream of mythical beasts, just the fact that Kizaru's Pika Pika Nomi and his Thunder Nomi were developed to their highest peak at the same time would result in a situation where neither could do anything to the other. He must conduct various experiments on guinea pigs before he has the possibility of becoming a user of multiple fruit abilities. It was impossible to try it on himself, as his body was the capital of the revolution, and if something went wrong he would have nowhere to regret. In fact, he himself was not clear whether the white thunder he used to plunder the fruit was the result of his golden finger brought by traveling through time, or the development of the ability of the thunder fruit. Because the world of pirates is more like an idealistic world. How strong your heart and imagination are determines how high you can reach. The power system of haki illustrates this point, especially the appearance of Conqueror's haki. Maybe it was because he had a strong desire to obtain the ability of the plundering fruit that he developed by lay through continuous attempts. Who can say for sure? But no matter what, he must make full use of this ability. Once there is a possibility of becoming a user of multiple fruit abilities, then it will be his hunting time. Cat cat fruit tabby cat form, dog dog fruit big tongue dog form, Rabbit rabbit fruit, poop boop fruit. Qin Yun nodded with satisfaction. There were 8 fruits in total, and he didn't know all of them. Adding the 3 trophies in his hand and the Paya Piao fruits that had not yet been taken out, he was now rich. He used his observation haki to read the minds of Golden Lion and his subordinates and took away all of Golden Lion's devil fruits, treasures, and other treasures. But he had something to say to the Golden Lion. "No, buddy, are you so stubborn? You have so many devil fruits, 50 pirate captains and 2,000 crew members, but you don't have a single ability user. Isn't that a bit too shabby?" Next is the experimental phase. Qin Yun brought several pirates to the Golden Lion's fortress. With White Thunder lingering in his hands, he pulled the dog fruit, and the power of the dog fruit was absorbed into his palm. The dog fruit lost the source of its power and became wilted in the blink of an eye, and after a while it became corrupt. He wanted to send the ability back, but the dog fruit had no reaction, so he tried to put it into the fruit prepared on the side. It was very easy, and the fruit quickly transformed into the shape of the dog fruit. It seems that the power that was sucked away can no longer be put back into the original fruit. Qin Yun took away the power of the dog fruit and slapped it onto Pirate No. One who was standing next to him, allowing him to use the power of the fruit, and everything was normal. Putting sea stone handcuffs on him had no effect. He was still able to use his abilities. Let him jump into the sea, no effect. He can still use his abilities. With the cooperation of Pirate 1, he quickly came to the astonishing conclusion that his ability to plunder with White Thunder would not be affected by the drawbacks of the devil fruit. He also discovered that Pirate 1 couldn't see the White Thunder in his hand. Chapter 23 The Devil and 039's Conjecture. Qin Yun guessed that there was indeed a devil living in the devil fruit, and the nemesis of the devil was Pyrobroin and the sea. Sea stone contains this ingredient, which exerts the same energy as the sea. Once a person with special abilities comes into contact with it, the devil will act up and suppress him. His White Thunder plundered the abilities and eliminated the demons. This is what prevents this pirate from being affected by the drawbacks of the devil fruit. In this way, the drawback that a person cannot possess 2 abilities at the same time may also be eliminated. The experiment had not yet ended, and Qin Yun casually sent Pirate No. 1 into the sky. White Thunder lingered in his hands, and he felt the power of Pirate No. 1. About 3 minutes later, Qin Yun felt the power of the dog fruit begin to dissipate from Pirate No. 1. He quickly snatched the power away and slammed it into Pirate No. 2, who was standing beside him. 3 minutes. After having Pirate No. 2 repeat the above experiment, the same result was obtained. Qin Yun did not stop moving, and took away the power of the cat fruit and gave it to Pirate No. 2. No explosion. Looking at the image of Pirate No. 2 with a cat head, dog body, dog paws, and cat tail, Qin Yun instantly understood that he could use 2 devil fruits at the same time. After letting Pirate No. 2 switch forms several times, Qin Yun became more certain. After knocking out Pirate No. 2, Qin Yun tried to steal his power away and succeeded. 2 devil fruits took shape nearby. Pirate No. 2 was not dead either, but after he got up he felt his body was hollowed out and extremely weak. As for how long he could live, Qin Yun couldn't tell. After giving him the Yunyun fruit, he became normal again. Double fruits are fine, but what about triple fruits? After Qin Yun's many attempts, Pirate No. 2 completed the feat of unleashing 8 fruits, but now Qin Yun only has 8 in his hand, and he cannot immediately draw a conclusion on the upper limit of the number of fruits a person can have. But that's enough. The 8 fruits collected by Golden Lion are mostly junk. Only the dragon fruit, ancient type, Spinosaurus form, and the natural type, cloud fruit can be of great use. After sending Pirate No. 2 to see Pirate No. 1, Qin Yun came to the Golden Lion. "Goodbye, Golden Lion. Go meet Roger." There was no response, and he couldn't respond. Qin Yun sent him away expressionlessly, then white lightning flashed in his hand, plundering his abilities. Is this the floating fruit? The floating fruit, when displayed by the golden lion, is more like the ability to control objects. He can control any non-living thing he touches, making it fly, deform, flow, and even control seawater. His functionality and power are beyond compare. You know, the ability of the float fruit consumes basically no physical energy. Otherwise, how could he have easily kept countless huge islands suspended in the sky for decades? These abilities are so convenient. With these abilities, why would Qin Yun need the Ark Proverbs? He could just go to Fishman Island and drive Noah away. Of course, the speed is definitely faster. While thinking, Qin Yun saw flashes of lightning several times, touching the falling islands one by one, allowing them to continue to float. These are also considered existing land resources, so let them slowly fly towards the kingdom of God. After experimenting with the ability of the float fruit for a while, Qin Yun discovered that the ability can be transferred between objects. What do you mean? For example, if Qin Yun uses his ability to control object A and then controls object A to hit object B, then object B will also be under his control. This is why the ability displayed in the hands of the golden lion is more like telekinesis. This is very important, especially when used in conjunction with the thunder fruit. It can be devastating in actual combat. Not bad, Qin Yun was very satisfied. Then, the Golden Lion's subordinates are of no use. They have followed the Golden Lion for many years and the possibility of them succumbing to him is very small. Even if someone surrenders, for Qin Yun they are just slaves sent to open up the cloud mine. The value they create is limited, and there is the possibility of a riot. So he might as well let them go to accompany the Golden Lion. Thinking of this, Qin Yun raised his right hand and clenched it. Pia o Dai Huan. The next moment, the earth churned, earth dragons surged, and rumbling sounds were heard, frightening the strange creatures on the floating island, and they fled in panic. All the prisons were crushed and buried underground. The screams of the pirates were blocked by the thick earth and could not be heard. Ying Ju and Ku Mu also became his trophies. After being baptized by thunder and lightning, Qin Yun suddenly found that these two swords were of no use to him as he was not a swordsman. However, his swordsmanship skills are not too low. He can hold the thunder sword in his hand and use the power of the thunder fruit to emit powerful thunder sword energy. These two famous swords can only be kept as collections. It would be nice to give them to goddesses who need swords in the future. Qin Yun waved his hand and put all the spoils into a treasure chest. Next, he connected to the signal network that monitored the Den Mushi and asked them to look in the direction of Sky Island. Afterwards, let the floating islands fly towards the Sky Island. In this way, he can accurately grasp the movements of the floating islands. After doing all this, Qin Yun took the treasure chest back to find Robin and the others. The moon is bright in the sky, and the little proverb is very lively. Why? Because Qin Yun is back. Oni-chan tilde how was it? Did you find the person you wanted to meet? Wai Wei rushed over happily. She saw that Qin Yun looked relaxed and obviously happy, but she didn't see that he had a new concubine with him, so she couldn't help but feel confused. Haha, I've encountered one. I've gained a lot this time. Perhaps, after I finish the things at hand, I can directly enter the new world. Qin Yun took Wai Wei into his arms and took her to the dining table. He liked Wai Wei very much, this thoughtful and obedient little princess. New World. The New World is the sea area in the second half of the Grand Line. It is ruled by the 4 emperors. Robin should know this. That's right. Raffle, where the great secret treasure One Piece is located, is in the New World. However, you want to enter the New World. Do you want to become the Pirate King? Robin took over the conversation and asked curiously. Pirate King? I'm not a pirate. Anyone who wants to be a pirate can be one. As for One Piece, I'll get it if I can, and it doesn't matter if I can't. My goal is the entire world. If One Piece could rule the world, Roger would have overthrown the world government long ago. In the end, we still have to rely on ourselves. Robin nodded thoughtfully. Rule the world. That's a big ambition. Why didn't the president bring the goddess back this time? Did the other party refuse? Mikita asked with a sweet smile as she placed the tableware in front of Qin Yun. As the temporary chef on the princess ship, she had prepared a delicious table for everyone. The goddess has none, but there are many treasures. The person I'm looking for today is Shiki the Golden Lion. Luckily, he has died at my hands. Golden Lion. Are you talking about the great pirate Admiral Flying? Robin's pupils shrank and she exclaimed subconsciously. Chapter 24 Ownership of the Yunyun Fruit. That's right. Apart from him, who else dares to call himself the Golden Lion? Golden Lion? Who is that? Wei was full of questions. He is a figure who can be compared with the pirate King Roger. Crocodile is not even worthy of carrying his shoes. Robin explained. Onii-chan, you were able to kill Golden Lion. He was the first pirate to escape in the history of Impel Down. Helena found it a little hard to believe, but she knew Qin Yun couldn't lie to her. So, Golden Lion is very rich? Brother tilde, does all his money belong to you? Can you let me take a look and satisfy my eyes? Nami came close to Qin Yun, her eyes shining with the shape of Bailey, and her focus was always on treasure. She had already called Nokigo and confirmed the situation in Kakosha village and learned that both of them had become Qin Yun's consorts. At this point, Nokigo had no choice but to praise Qin Yun over the phone, asking her to stop being so petty and to be a good concubine to Qin Yun. Qin Yun stroked her orange hair and scolded with a smile. The gold and jewels in the warehouse aren't enough for you to look at? You are such a money grubber. The more the better. Nami smiled, patted the treasure chest under Qin Yun's feet, and asked, Is this the treasure? Why does it feel a little bit small? That's my trophy, a devil fruit and 2 famous swords. Do you want to eat it? There's a fruit in it that's just right for you. Can I sell it for money? I heard a devil fruit is worth at least 100 million berries. Of course not. Okay, you definitely won't hurt me. I'll eat it. Hearing this, Qin Yun let go of Wei and opened the treasure chest. He looked at the girls and explained, most of these fruits are average. Only the Yunyun fruit and the long fruit ancient species Spinosaurus form are pretty good. Nami is gifted and very sensitive to weather changes. It's a good choice for her to acquire the ability of the cloud fruit. Naturally, the women had no objection to his decision. Come on, Nami, come inside and eat. Amid Nami's scream, Qin Yun leaned over, picked her up, and walked into the cabin. As for the treasure chest, put it in the collection room first. Okay, Lord God. Robin smiled and knew Qin Yun's plan. Brother Yun, is this the Yunyun fruit? Nami couldn't help but ask when she saw the true appearance of the devil fruit. Qin Yun nodded, his tone very sure, and it didn't seem at all like he was fooling Nami. You must have heard that eating a devil fruit is like eating feces. In order to prevent you from being persecuted like this, I can only let you eat some desserts first, so that I can stimulate the divine power to let you gain abilities. Nami understood Qin Yun's good intentions and immediately obeyed his orders obediently. After a long time, Qin Yun pinched the white thunder in his hand and sent the power of the Yunyun fruit into her body as promised. After a moment of familiarization, Nami turned into mist, filling the entire room, and shouted excitedly, Is this the ability of the cloud fruit? After the elements are transformed into clouds, my body feels like it's ascending to heaven. It's so comfortable. Qin Yun half closed his eyes, enjoying being wrapped in the clouds. The clouds were soft and it felt like countless slender hands were massaging him, which was extremely comfortable. Remember, although you will not be affected by the disadvantages of the devil fruit, you can still be hit by the armament haki. As a natural ability user, if you really have to take action, you must not get close to others. Just use your ability to attack from a distance. You can develop the ability of the fruit in the direction of long-range attack, control existing clouds, create clouds, fog, thunder, rain, storms. In short, the ability of the cloud fruit is very comprehensive. Once I find Visalia, I'll have the meteorologists there compile a book on the subject. You'll be busy then. Visalia, small sky island, where Nami was photographed by the bear. Thank you, brother husband, you are so kind to me. Nami had a look of satisfaction on her face. She put away her fruit ability and snuggled into Qin Yun's arms, feeling that she was so lucky. Qin Yun smiled without saying anything. Now that Nami had officially become his divine consort, coupled with his joy of becoming a user of multiple fruit abilities, he was extremely pleased at the moment. But is that enough? Of course not. In the East China Sea, in the northern waters of the Moonlight Islands, Lil Proverbs was flying at an altitude of about 20 meters above the sea surface. According to Robin's identification, the location where Qin Yun killed the golden lion was not far to the north of the Moonlight Islands, so they simply flew directly south, wanting to go to Zilub village. Brother Yun, Onia-chan. At this moment, Nami rushed into the cabin aggressively and shouted excitedly, Onia-chan, there's a pirate group ahead. Well, if there is, then there is. What does it have to do with us? Qin Yun put Kilina down and responded somewhat unhappily that the pirates in the East China Sea were too weak and there were few people with fruit abilities, so he had no interest in them at all. In comparison, he now prefers to be with Kilina. She used to tie her hair up, which somewhat concealed her beauty, so after Kilina became his consort, at his request, she stopped tying her hair up, and her appearance instantly rose to a higher level, making him love her so much. Nami, you didn't just eat the cloud fruit and you want to go fight? Onii-chan won't agree. Kilina was not angry when Nami interrupted her. She was a little tired, so she let Nami play with Qin Yun for a while. If you have that much time, you might as well spend more time with Onii-chan. After your physique is improved, you will have more energy to practice your fruit ability. I don't want to. Nami immediately refused, turned around and wanted to escape, but was suddenly pulled in by Vivi. Great. You're here too. Hee hee. Now that you're here, don't even think about leaving. Vivi and Nami were laughing and playing. Qin Yun also laughed when he saw this scene, thinking that maybe the pirates in front had devil fruits and he could get some unexpected gains. He casually released his observation haki and swept towards the front of the princess ship. Okay. Qin Yun was stunned. He did not find the devil fruit, but found a few familiar faces: Klo and Zhangao. The main reason was that Zhanggao's image was very special and he recognized it at first sight. Strangeness. According to the timeline, Klo should have faked his death and escaped, and was working as a housekeeper in Kaya's home. How could he appear here? Speaking of Klo, this guy is outrageous. He had clearly become Kaya's housekeeper 3 years before the start of the One Piece plot, but he had yet to start killing. It wasn't until a year before the plot began that Kaya's parents were assassinated. The purpose was to legally inherit Kaya's family property. Then Kiya was hit hard and became seriously ill, but he still didn't do anything. When the protagonists arrived, he got excited and didn't hide well. He gathered the Black Cat pirates and tried to commit suicide like a madman. Chapter 25. Brother, I and -039 LL leave Kiya to you. In the past 3 years, he had countless opportunities to easily seize the wealth of Kiya's family, but he just didn't do it, just played around. Wait. Could it be that today is the day that Klo assassinated Kaya's parents? Thinking of this, he looked at another merchant ship and found a man on it whose face was slightly similar to Kiya. However, he was now seriously injured and on the verge of death, being trampled and ruthlessly trampled under Klo's feet. Interesting, I caught up with such a plot, so I didn't have to go to Ziluabu village to kill Klo. You two stop messing around. Come and help me with Kilina. Qin Yun smiled faintly and stood up, motioning for the women to help him put on his clothes. Vivi and Nami quickly stopped fighting and came to Kilina's side. Damn Onii-chan, she didn't let me go and went by herself instead. Nami muttered softly, but didn't dare to look Qin Yun in the eye. Qin Yun said nothing. After getting dressed, he left the princess' ship with a flash of lightning. The next moment, Qin Yun appeared not far from Crow. Without any nonsense, he launched a thunder and lightning attack, electrocuting all the Black Cat pirates into a spiral. Cough, cough. The man that Chloe had just stepped on coughed up several mouthfuls of black blood, but still climbed up unyieldingly and leaned against a pillar nearby. Qin Yun looked at him and couldn't help but sigh. The people in the pirate world are so tenacious. The man soon discovered that Chloe was dead with black smoke coming out of his body. You are no matter who you are. Thank you, brother, for avenging us. He suppressed his physical discomfort and thanked Qin Yun. There was a trace of struggle in his eyes, but he finally put on the courage to ask incoherently, "Can you please do me a favor? I know this is very abrupt, but I can't imagine how my daughter will survive in this chaotic world without me. I still have the money I have accumulated throughout my life at home. Take it, young man. It will be the reward for raising Kia. Don't worry, she's very well behaved, but she's been in poor health since she was a child. What's her name?" Qin Yun interrupted him and asked. The man was delighted, knowing that the other party was ready to agree, and quickly responded. "Her name is Kia, and she lives in Ziluabu village, south of here." He is indeed a handsome father. Qin Yun pondered for a moment and decided to record a video of him, which could also be regarded as a thought for Kia. He took out a video shell and let it float aside. "My name is God Qin Yun. I can agree to your request, but Kia may not believe me just because I say it. It would be better for you to say it in person. You can now tell your last words to the video. When Kia sees it, she will naturally understand your intention. This can be considered as the last thing you leave for Kia. Thank you, bro." The man tried hard to hold back his tears and straightened his appearance. He knew that he must not act too miserable, otherwise Kia would be very sad. "Brother, I'm ready." Qin Yun nodded. "Kia, if you see this video, it means I have left this world forever. Don't be afraid. Your mother and I will always be watching over you. From now on, you will live with Brother Qin Yun. Butler Crabadle is the murderer who killed us. It was Brother Qin Yun who helped us to avenge him. You must listen to Brother Qin Yun, eat well, and live a good life." The man said a lot of things until he felt he couldn't hold on any longer. Then he waved his hand and said goodbye to Kia. Behind the video he watched Qin Yun put away the video before he breathed a sigh of relief. "Brother, I'll leave Kia to you if possible. Please send my body to the embrace of the sea along with my treasure ship." Before he could finish his words, he coughed up a few mouthfuls of black blood, then collapsed on the deck, his soul passing away. So, Qin Yun first got the bounty order for Crow from the Black Cat pirate's ship, and then began to activate the ability of the Thunder Fruit. Then, a large mass of dark clouds gathered in the sky, and lightning struck, setting the two ships on fire, turning them into ashes and falling into the embrace of the sea. 1 day later, Ziluabu village. "The pirates are coming! The pirates are coming!" Usopp continued to shout in the village as usual. The villagers were already used to it and treated his daily lies as jokes after tea. "Everyone, believe me. There are pirates coming. They are flying a spaceship directly towards us." "Ha ha ha, Usopp, your lies are getting more and more outrageous. Spaceship? Why didn't you say there was a dragon flying over here?" The villagers scoffed at Usopp's words and laughed at him mercilessly. "I didn't lie to you guys. It's true. I saw the pirate flag." Seeing that Usopp was still chattering on, the villagers ignored him and went back to work in the fields. Kia's home is independent of Ziluabu village. It is a relatively luxurious manor named Yakin Manor. At this time, Qin Yun had already stopped the little mantra at the door. You?" Mary looked at Qin Yun and others in panic. If it weren't for the kind faces of Nami and the others, he would have shouted, "Miss, run Tilda. We're here to find Miss Kaya." Robin's gentle voice sounded. Mary breathed a sigh of relief, wiped the sweat from his head, and raised his voice. I'll go inform the lady. No need. Qin Yun stepped past him and walked up the stairs behind him. This Mary wanted to stop him, but found that his body could not move. It's okay, he won't hurt Miss Kaya. Robin comforted her at the right time. Melly had no choice but to watch him walk up the stairs step by step. Who are you? Kia lay on the bed, looking at Qin Yun with a puzzled look on her face as he entered her room. She has fair skin, short light blonde hair that reaches her shoulders and is parted in the middle. She looks like a beauty at first glance. She was wearing a light blue ankle-length dress that outlined her slender figure, making people involuntarily want to protect her. My name is Qin Yun. Kia, don't be afraid, I am here at your father's request. Qin Yun didn't stop and reached the bed in a few steps. My father? I'm not afraid, big brother. You're so handsome, you must not be a bad guy. Kia blinked her innocent big eyes, and when she saw Qin Yun approaching, she took the initiative to move her body to make some space for him to sit down. Looking at Kia's two lovely big eyes, Qin Yun felt reluctant to hurt her, but there were some things he had to let her know. Kia, fair skin, big eyes, gentle and elegant sick beauty, budding, shy to speak. Chapter 26 The Purpose of Capturing the Goddess. Kia, look, do you know this person? Qin Yun took out Chloe's bounty order and showed it to her. Is this butler Crabadel? Kia had already sensed that something was wrong. She still had common sense and knew that the paper in front of her was a bounty order issued by the Navy. His real name is Chloe. 2 years ago, he was accepted by your father as a butler and has been plotting to take your family's wealth. He murdered your parents at sea 2 days ago. I happened to pass by and killed Chloe, but your father was already seriously injured and on the verge of death. No. Big brother, you are lying to me, right? Kia's face was full of disbelief. Her fair little face turned pale in an instant because of the pain. She was trembling all over, gasping for breath, and her little chest heaving. Qin Yun sighed, put his arm around her shoulders, and an electric current surged, relieving her physical and mental state. Wu Qi turned around and threw herself into Qin Yun's arms, sobbing softly. Even though she kept telling herself that this was all fake, she knew in her heart that Qin Yun had no reason to lie to her. After a while, Qin Yun saw that she had calmed down a lot, so he took out the video. This is the last thing your father left you. It contains what he wanted to say to you. Upon hearing this, Kia shuddered violently and stared blankly at the video camera floating in the air with tearful eyes, not daring to reach out to catch it. Qin Yun thought about it and started the video recording. The next moment, Kaya's father's appearance was projected into the void, and his weak voice, trying to keep himself normal, rang out. Kaya, if you see. Kia watched the images projected by the video camera in silence the whole time. Only her tears kept flowing down. Her whole body was limp and powerless, and the weight of her body was placed on Qin Yun. Although she was born into a wealthy family, her parents worked hard outside to make money, so she was already a sensible girl at a young age. As the video ended, Kia's eyes lost their luster. She tilted her head weakly and fell into Qin Yun's arms. She fainted due to the excessive shock. Qin Yun remained silent and had to hold her petite body in his arms, waiting for her to wake up. Time passed quietly, and Kia woke up slowly. She frowned in pain and opened her eyes. She looked at Qin Yun, who had his eyes slightly closed, and whispered, "Brother Qin, thank you." After she finished speaking, she raised her jade neck and gave him a light kiss to express her gratitude. Of course, Qin Yun was not asleep. He was just developing the ability of the fruit in his mind. He would not be so unromantic as to avoid her and hurt Kia's precious willingness to repay him. As the warmth on Qin Yun's face disappeared, Kia saw his eyes open, and a shy blush suddenly appeared on her face. Qin Yun smiled gently, raised his hand and stroked her pretty face, wiping away the tears on her face. "You must be hungry, Kia. Let's go out and have breakfast." He tried his best to keep Kiye in the rhythm so that she would not have nothing to do and would be immersed in the pain of her parents' death. Yeah, Kiye nodded in agreement. So Qin Yun picked her up and wanted to walk out. Kiye was made even more shy by his actions, but she did not dare to resist and muttered, "Brother Qin, I can walk by myself, you are weak, so I'd better carry you." Seeing that Qin Yun disagreed, Kiye had no choice but to go along with his actions and was carried downstairs by him to eat. She encountered a sudden change. If it weren't for Qin Yun, she would have been so sad after hearing that her parents died of illness that she would have been bedridden and depressed all day long, making her already weak body even worse. This is how she got to know Usopp. Qin Yun already regarded Kiye as his divine consort in his heart. He was afraid that she would repeat the same mistake, so he naturally took good care of her in all aspects. He also thought about sacrificing himself to help her with her treatment, but the timing was not right, and her body was too weak to withstand his fierce treatment measures. Only after her health improved, he would dare to help her strengthen her body, relieve her worries, and provide her with a lot of happiness. After everyone finished eating, Qin Yun carried Kia back to the room and asked Robin, Nami, and the others to take care of her while he chatted with Kia about women's topics. He had previously shown Robin the video of Kaya's father. With her helping to lobby, Kaya would surely be able to quickly cheer herself up and look to the future. Robin knew clearly that the more concubines Qin Yun had, the stronger he would be. Even though his methods were often a little extreme, he was always very kind to the concubines. She had no reason and no idea to stop Qin Yun. On the contrary, she had to be a good wife, stabilize his harem, and persuade every new concubine. In her opinion, Qin Yun's actions in capturing the concubines were a series of redemption, allowing them to escape from their original quagmire and live a carefree life. Qin Yun left Kia's house and flew to the sky to develop the ability of the fruit. For a moment, thunder roared continuously, and the wind and clouds were unpredictable and surging. The sword energy emitted by the thunder sword split the vast sea in half with one strike. There was a ball of thunder brewing, rushing into the water and setting off a huge circular shockwave. After a while, he dived into the sea again, used the power of the float fruit to push away the seawater, and flew freely on the sea. But Qin Yun's armament haki is progressing rapidly and can now cover half of his body. He still needs to keep up the good work and practice more. Domineering aura depends on the physique and the heart. Only when both are strong can the domineering aura be strong. He is a person from outside the world, so his vision and pattern are naturally beyond the world. After he possessed the thunder fruit, his heart expanded to have no boundaries. Eternal life, power, wealth, beauty, I want them all. He didn't just say this. At this stage, he kept capturing goddesses, firstly for his own selfishness, and secondly to become stronger and realize his determination to have it all. His fruit ability requires his own imagination and practice to develop. Now that he has the thunder fruit and the floating fruit, the fusion technique between the two fruits requires him to invest more energy. He has already thought of many brilliant ideas. For example, the lightning that is struck out is added with the power of floating, and all unconscious bodies that it touches will be controlled by it. Two fruits are not the end. He also needs more powerful devil fruits to deal with various situations, such as Kaido's fish fruit mythical beast blue dragon form. After a long time, Qin Yun finished developing the ability of the fruit, and returned to the little proverbs with a slightly heated and slightly sweaty body. Qin Yun washed his body, then put on a bathrobe and came to Kia's room neatly dressed. Onia-chan. As soon as Nami saw him, she happily turned into a cloud and wrapped around his body. At this time, Vivi and Robin were on either side of Kia. It seems like you two are getting along pretty well. Qin Yun used the armament color to cover his big hand and grasped the elemental Nami. It hurts. Nami pretended to be in pain and cried out. Chapter 27 Born. Qin Yun. I didn't use any force. Qin Yun was helpless. Kia is very smart. After knowing that we are all your consorts, she kept clamoring to be your consort. Robin covered his mouth and chuckled, revealing Kia's thoughts to her face. As soon as these words came out, Qin Yun knew that he was safe. It seemed that Robin had done enough psychological preparation for Kia, and Kia must have also known that chatting with him could strengthen her body. Sister Robin, I didn't say those words. Kia was very embarrassed and her body began to tremble. Although she thought so in her heart, how could she let others say it in public? Kia, Sister Robin is just so mean. Don't get excited. Just ignore what she says. Wei hugged Kia and calmed her nervousness. Oh, Qin Yun looked at Robin's sinister expression and knew that she was teasing Kia on purpose to give him a way out. So he smiled at Kia and said, I didn't say these words, but I thought so in my heart. Kia didn't know how to respond. So she grabbed the corner of the quilt and covered her whole body. Upon seeing this, Qin Yun glanced at the three goddesses and told them his next plan. We will leave Ziluabu village tomorrow. You can go back to Little Proverbs and prepare first. Good. The three girls immediately understood what he meant and responded one after another. Nami turned into mist and got off Qin Yun and left with Robin and Vivi. Now, only Qin Yun and Kia are left. Qin Yun came to Kia's side without hesitation, reached out his hand and held her hand. At this moment, Kia trembled obviously and leaned towards him. Onii-chan. Kata called out timidly and tentatively. Why did you start calling me Onii-chan? Didn't you always call me Big Brother before? I'm learning from Sister Nami. She's only 1 year older than me, so I thought I'd learn how to call her, so that we can be more closer. Seeing that he was still smiling, Kia felt relieved. As long as you are happy. Qin Yun freed one hand and pinched her cute nose. Onii-chan, will you take me away tomorrow? Of course. Not only you, I will also take away the Yakin Manor where you live. Ah, Yakin Manor is so big. What should we do? They should have told you, right? I'm a god. Isn't it easy for me to take away a small manor? I thought you were joking. So am I now your friend or your divine consort? Goddess. Qin Yun responded in a decisive tone. After getting a satisfactory answer, Kia fell asleep with a happy face. The next morning, Qin Yun was awakened by the noisy Nami shouting outside. At noon, Kia, looking radiant, had lunch with Qin Yun and others. She then overpaid Mary a year's wages, ending his career as a servant at the estate. After everything was ready, Qin Yun raised his hand and waved, and a rumbling sound came from the bottom of Yakin Manor. The entire Yakin Manor was shaking constantly, as if trying to break free from the constraints of the earth. In a short while, the entire manor rose from the ground, leaving behind a deep circular pit. Under Qin Yun's superb control, the outer cross-section of Yakin Manor is very smooth and neat, like a cylinder, and can be called a miniature island. The others were ignorant, but Robin and Kelina were knowledgeable and immediately realized that what Qin Yun used was not the ability of the thunder fruit, but more like the ability of the floating fruit. Robin's eyes were full of curiosity, and he decided to ask Qin Yun next time he chatted with him. Kelina was extremely happy. To her, the stronger Qin Yun was, the happier she was. As for why he was so awesome, that was not her concern. The loud noise from Yakin Manor could not be hidden from the villagers of Ziluabu village in the distance. When they looked up, they saw the small island flying in the sky. That's Licken Sky's father estate, right? Should we call the navy? Forget it. It's better to have less trouble than more faced with a sudden change. Most of the villagers chose to pretend not to see it, but there were always some young and foolish people who wanted to find out what was going on. Go! Fight the pirates! Usopp, along with Pepperhead, Carrot Head, and Onion Head, rushed towards the island aggressively. However, how could their running speed be faster than the island's flying speed? What was waiting for them was only a huge circular pit. East China Sea, Sai Island area. There was a raging storm and thunder. In a room in Yakin Manor, Robin suddenly straightened her body and asked Qin Yun, who was sitting by the window, with a puzzled look on her face, "My dear god-husband Tilda, the Yakin Manor we are riding on now should not be the effect of the Thunder Fruit's ability, right? Tilda, did you find the floating fruit after defeating the Golden Lion?" "No, I used my divine power to rob him of his floating power." "Ah, divine power. You really are a god, of course. You don't think I call myself that, do you?" Robin certainly didn't believe that he was a god, but the current situation made her doubt herself. Onii-chan. Onii-chan. At this moment, Nami rushed into their room excitedly again. As soon as she came in, her big eyes glanced around Qin Yun and Robin frantically and got a disappointing answer. Even Robin was rendered speechless for once by her gaze and turned his eyes away from her. "What happened again? You didn't discover the pirate group again, did you?" Qin Yun guessed casually. Nami was extremely talented, and with his guidance, she was able to develop some basic functions of the Yunyun fruit in just a few days. Control clouds, create clouds, make it rain, thunder, storms, etc. The most important thing is to control clouds. Now, she can receive information conveyed to her by clouds over a large area through the power of clouds. Now her perception range is not much inferior to Qin Yun. "How do you know?" Nami said this, but there was no surprise on her face. Qin Yun no longer dared to ignore the news she brought, because she discovered Chloe's gang last time, which made it easy for him to win Kiya's heart. In his opinion, Nami is the girl of destiny in this world. After becoming his consort, she can bring him good luck and opportunities. "Come, let me see." Qin Yun used his observation haki and swept it over the sea. "That is the red hair pirates. Shanks." His expression changed slightly. He didn't expect to meet Shanks at this time. Logically speaking, he should be in the New World now. The moment Qin Yun used his observation haki to detect the red hair pirates, Shanks and Beckman seemed to have noticed something. They quickly raised their heads and looked at the blue sky. Unfortunately, thick layers of clouds created by Nami blocked their vision and observation haki, making it impossible for them to lock their eyes on Yakin Manor. They could only feel as if someone was using observation haki to spy on them. Chapter 28, Battle with Beckman in the Future. Shanks' smile froze, and he was secretly shocked. Who is watching from the dark? What a high level of observation haki this is. Even my observation haki can't detect the other party, and I can only passively defend. Shanks, you've noticed it too, right? I didn't expect there is such a person in the weakest sea. Beckman blew out smoke rings with a serious expression. Hey, the people from the East China Sea are still here. How come you mentioned the weakest sea? Jesus, Boo retorted with a smile and curse. Ha ha ha, the other pirates laughed loudly, raised their glasses and drank happily. It's a pity that Shanks and his gang don't eat devil fruits. Before Qin Yun finished this thought, an idea flashed across his mind. Wait, I almost forgot about Conqueror's haki. Shanks' Conqueror's haki is one of the best in the pirate world. If I fight him, maybe I can awaken it. Thinking of this, he started to act without any hesitation. He first flew the Yakin Manor forward for a while, and when he thought it was out of the combat range, lightning flashed again and arrived above the heads of Shanks and the others. Dark clouds gathered in the sky, the originally sunny weather became cloudy and uncertain, and a depressing atmosphere began to spread. After Qin Yun appeared, he elegantly leaned back, sat on the throne of thunder and lightning, and said lightly, "Red-haired Shanks, one of the 4 emperors. I never thought that I would meet you in this small East Sea." Shanks was stunned for a moment, and after confirming that he did not know the other party, he smiled heartily and responded loudly, "Hey Tilda, this friend suddenly showed up. Do you want to join our party?" He always kept smiling, and with his unconventional country-style attire, people who didn't know him might mistake him for a simple street boy. The red-hair pirates remained calm. As subordinates of the 4 emperors Shanks, they were already used to many storms. If one person wants to make them feel a sense of urgency, Whitebeard needs to show up in person. Banquet? Qin Yun glanced around and found a lot of delicious food and drinks on the deck. He was so busy improving his strength that he didn't pay attention to these. No need for a banquet, Shanks, come and fight me. It's inevitable that I'll feel a little itchy when I meet a strong man like you. Oh, boy, are you provoking us? Beckman looked at him with interest, blowing smoke rings from his mouth and pointing the flintlock rifle in his hand at Qin Yun, as if he would shoot him if he said something wrong. Qin Yun felt a chill on his back. Under Beckman's gun, he actually had a feeling of being locked, as if he would be hit if he moved. But he knew in his heart that this was impossible, as he had lightning speed, and only Kizaru's speed of light could match him. This scene reminded him of the Battle of Marineford, when Beckman pointed at Kizaru and Kizaru raised his hands in a funny way. One can only say that he is worthy of being a famous ape actor. Provocation? Then Beckman, you may think so. Qin Yun glanced at Beckman indifferently. A red light flashed in his eyes, and a pair of electric lights suddenly shot out from his eyes. Thunder method, lightning eyes. The manifestation of the future foresight by observation haki is usually a flash of red light in the eyes. Beckman's eyes flashed red and he fired several shots, and a huge explosion occurred between the two men. Qin Yun wanted to dodge his sea-stone bullets with dual-color domineering power, but found that all his retreat routes were blocked. However, the bullet was too slow. He flashed with lightning and retreated violently. Then he flashed in an arc and kicked Beckman from the side, muttering, "Have you ever been struck by lightning?" Beckman didn't even look at him, he just kicked. The two men's domineering kicks collided with each other, emitting surging purple-black lightning. The sky and the earth changed color and finally turned black and white. Beckman was forced to move 2 steps to the side due to the strong force, and then stopped. A shock wave quickly spread around, and countless clouds in the sky were shaken and scattered and disappeared. Not bad. How come there's no bounty on a person like you? Beckman grinned and began to look Qin Yun in the eye. You're not bad. You're so capable, yet you're willing to be Shanks's vice-captain. Qin Yun also refreshed his understanding of Beckman. He should have thought of it earlier. In the time he watched the pirates' progress, Beckman never took any action. Generally speaking, the later one attacks, the more powerful he is, and his strength is probably on par with Shanks. Ha 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 ha, that's because you don't know the charm of Shanks. If you can stay on our ship for a few days, it won't be long before you will join us willingly. Qin Yun remained silent. The amount of armament haki he had was still too little. After just a short fight with him, his armament haki had already run out. He immediately changed the direction of his feet, unloading the force of the two men into the sky, then instantly transformed into an element and teleported to the distant horizon. A fierce and uncertain force exploded in the sky, breaking the black and white world. The shock wave acted on the sea water, pushing the red force to drift unsteadily. 6,000 million-volt Thunder Dragon. Qin Yun continued to drop thunder, bombarding Beckman. Beckman's expression remained unchanged, and he fired several more shots, dispersing the Thunder Dragon. Just like that, Qin Yun launched long-range attacks. God's Judgment, Thunder Dragon, Thunderbird, all the worthless things were bombarded at Beckman. Beckman either dodged or fired to parry Qin Yun's attacks, but his counterattacks failed due to Qin Yun's extreme speed. After a few rounds, red light flashed in the eyes of the two men, and they withdrew from foreseeing the future. At this time, Qin Yun was still sitting on the thunder throne below him, looking at Beckman with an inexplicable expression. Beckman was no longer as relaxed as before, and said in a complicated tone, "What an incredible person, Shanks. Neither of us can do anything to the other. His Thunderbolt Fruit ability is too abnormal. The speed is so fast that I have only experienced it on Kizaru. Ha 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 ha, I saw it. Beckman, you two are in such a mess." Shanks restrained the red light in his eyes and playfully teased the two of them. Hey, Shanks, This is not the time to joke. Beckman turned around and sat back in his seat, took a sip of liquor and then responded in pretended displeasure. It's your turn, Shanks. Let's fight. Qin Yun interrupted the couple's flirting. His main purpose was to awaken the dominant color. This was a rare opportunity and he didn't want to miss it. He benefited a lot from foreseeing the future battle just now. Fighting with these powerful people at the top of the world made him more aware of the importance of fruits and domineering. My friend, why bother fighting? It's too early for you to challenge me now. With the speed of the thunder fruit, you can only tie with me. Why don't you give me some face and let's sit down together for a banquet, chat and make friends. What? The face fruit is activated? Chapter 29. God avoids me but I don't. I am more awesome than God. Qin Yun felt his body to see if there was anything wrong. No. The face fruit was fake. Boss, just agree to his request. I think this guy is a fighting maniac who won't give up until he achieves his goal. At this time, Lackey Lu was eating a large piece of meat and persuading loudly. Shanks was about to reply when he was interrupted by Qin Yun's indifferent voice. Shanks, you don't have the right to refuse this fight. Qin Yun said this without waiting for his consent. A red light flashed in his eyes and a divine judgment blasted towards him. Penwen Sha. It is suspected to be a derivative ability obtained after practicing the Conqueror's Haki to the top level. A hint of scarlet flashed in Shanks' eyes, and he activated the ultimate secret of Conqueror's Haki. An inexplicable force instantly swept the entire world, and Beckman and his gang couldn't help but smile, because only Qin Yun was affected by this force. The red light in Qin Yun's eyes faded, and his ability to predict the future was no longer effective. However, he curled the corners of his mouth. This is what he was waiting for. He forced himself to calm his mind and carefully felt this extremely strong pressure. This feeling was like countless people holding a hammer and hitting his heart hard, or like being in an endless deep sea of oppressive despair, with endless pressure squeezing his mind madly. Then, exclamation in an instant, a sound like something shattering rang out in Qin Yun's mind. Exclamation the next moment, and equally a pressure that surpassed Shanks' domineering Haki swept across the entire venue, forcing Shanks' domineering Haki to retreat step by step. In the end, the sky was divided into two parts, with the purple-black part occupying 60% and the red part occupying 40%. Exclamation the wind was strong as the two emperors fought. Unfortunately, there were no clouds in the sky, otherwise it would have been another storm that swept away everything. Then, exclamation there was no need to continue, and the domineering showdown between the two came to an end. Qin Yun could no longer suppress the smile on his face, while Shanks's face was filled with solemnity. You have just awakened your Conqueror's Haki, and you already have such a strong deterrent power. My friend, what kind of ambition do you have? Ha ha! Qin Yun laughed without saying anything. Seeing this, Shanks drew out Griffin, pointed the sword at Qin Yun, and shouted, "Come on! Let me see how ambitious you are." As soon as he finished speaking, he exerted force with his feet, and the deck under his feet was broken into pieces due to his powerful force. The next moment he approached Qin Yun and chopped him down with a knife. The speed was so fast that even the air was ignited and burst into flames. God avoids. So fast. Qin Yun was shocked. He was worthy of being the red-haired Shanks. He was domineering and decisive when he took action. For some reason, a sentence inexplicably rang in his mind at this moment. God avoids me but I don't. I am more awesome than God. Of course, he is a god and needs to be avoided. It is impossible for him to take it head-on, not in this lifetime. Unless he has built up his physical strength and can use the Conqueror's Haki entanglement, then he will be interested in fighting against Shanks's divine avoidance. Then, Qin Yun's lightning dissipated and he teleported to a height of 10,000 meters. He left only one sentence and disappeared without a trace. His speed is so fast that even top-level observation masters like Shanks and Beckman cannot catch any trace of him. Shanks, Beckman, now is not the time for you and me to compete. When we meet next time, maybe the scenery will be different. Tilda ha ha ha, good man. He is using me as a tool to awaken his conqueror's haki. Shanks fell back onto the boat, his tone sounding very helpless. Beckman smiled and threw a huge wine barrel over. Shanks caught it steadily, sat cross-legged on the deck, and started drinking from it in big gulps. Shanks, a person like him is definitely someone who can change the world. There is no need for us to fight him. Beckman took a deep breath of smoke, his tone a little unpredictable. Yeah, thun tun tun tilde bang. Shanks took a big gulp, slammed the barrel heavily on the deck, and said excitedly, to celebrate meeting another future great man today, guys, let's have a party. Europe. A group of people in Lakalu raised the wine barrels or glasses in their hands, cheering loudly and jumping for joy. After a long time, Shanks looked at the sky in the distance as if thinking about something. Beckman on the side quietly wiped the rifle in his hand, and the cigarette in his mouth slowly emitted white smoke, which drifted far, far away on the other side. After ending the confrontation with the red-hair pirates, Qin Yun returned to Yakin Manor through the clouds. As soon as he entered the room, he saw Kaya and the others gathered around Nami, fiddling with something. Oni-chan. Nami, who had sharp eyes, shouted excitedly when she saw Qin Yun, her tone full of surprise. You really know how to find places. Look what I found on the isolated island down there. As she spoke, she raised her right hand, revealing the devil fruit inside. Nami was right to eat the cloud fruit. As soon as you left, she discovered a treasure chest on the island below and found the devil fruit inside. Robin was flipping through the book in his hand while chatting with everyone. Oh. Qin Yun walked forward and looked at the devil fruit carefully and found that it was smooth and shiny. Found it. The slippery fruit. Robin smiled and showed the book in his hand to everyone. Slippery fruit. Qin Yun was stunned. Isn't this the fruit eaten by the little boss Luffy met in the early stage? It seems to be called Alrita. She is known as the Little Auntie of the East China Sea. She has freckles all over her face, is fat and ugly, but she thinks she is the most beautiful woman in the sea. After eating the slippery fruit, she achieved a counterattack in her life. Slippery fruit. No wonder it's so slippery. Kaya stroked the devil fruit, and a wonderful feeling flowed between her fingers. Nami seemed a little frustrated and spread her hands helplessly. It doesn't sound like a powerful fruit, but at least it can still be sold for 100 million berries. 100 million Baileys. You underestimate it. Qin Yun was also somewhat happy. This fruit was very important to him and could bring him the ultimate experience. The slippery fruit has a beauty-enhancing effect after being eaten. Even the ugliest woman in the world will become a stunning beauty after eating it. If it is put up for auction, I'm afraid even 10 billion Baileys won't be able to buy it. What? X5 What woman can resist the temptation of becoming a peerless beauty? The 5 of them are already considered peerless beauties, but they don't mind becoming more beautiful and getting more favor from Qin Yun. The 5 girls stared at the slippery fruit in a daze for a while, then turned their heads together and looked at Qin Yun with tears in their eyes. Why are you looking at me? Whoever gets it should make the decision. Besides, the beauty effect of the slippery fruit doesn't only come into effect after you eat it. It just has an immediate beauty effect after you eat it. After Nami decides who will eat it, let the goddess who eats it get familiar with the devil fruit ability, and then use the ability on you to optimize it. Is it possible to do this? Wai Wei was impressed by his imagination. Chapter 30 The Magical Use of Slippery Power. Of course. The power of slipperiness can make your own or others' skin tight and smooth. Even it can also remove spots, acne, pigmentation, yellow teeth, wrinkles, etc. But you probably don't need these functions at this point. Qin Yun's tone became a little uncertain, because he suddenly remembered that Robin seemed to have a small red mole on his body. Seeing that Robin was still looking at him expectantly, Qin Yun continued talking. If the slippery fruit is developed to a deeper level, it can also slide away fatigue, pain, damage, etc. These advanced abilities need to be awakened to be completed. Unfortunately, the starting point of the slippery fruit is still too low. To complete the development of the above ideas, too much energy is required. It would be faster to directly plunder the meaty fruit. Nami pondered for a moment, thinking of Nokigo's meticulous care for her. When he was not around, it was Nokigo who worked in the orange orchard, and his skin was sunburned, turning his fair skin into wheat color. I want to leave the slippery fruit to my sister, so she can get rid of the sunburn she got from growing oranges. Nami clenched her fists and spoke in a firm tone. The other 4 girls all agreed happily. At this time, Robin saw that Qin Yun had nothing in his hands and asked, "Is that pirate group very strong?" "Look, you didn't even get the spoils." "Indeed, they are strong." The red hair pirates of the 4 emperors' shanks are considered one of the 4 strongest pirate groups. 4 emperors. Kalina exclaimed. What are the 4 emperors? Nami still didn't know what this meant. The 4 emperors are after Robin's explanation. The girls understood the concept. Let's not talk about this. I'm tired after a day. I should go to Restjong Island, Goa Kingdom, Windmill Village. Nami's fruit ability became stronger, and the entire Yakin manor was wrapped in layers of clouds and mist, concealing their breath. The outside cannot see the inside, but the inside can see the outside. Onia-chan. There are navy ships at the dock, and the bow of the ship looks like a dog's head. I saw it. That's Garp's boat. It looks like he's back at Windmill Village. Qin Yun thought about it, and it seemed that the only thing missing was Buggy and Long, and he could gather all the big shots in the East China Sea. Navy hero Garp? This small village below is actually his hometown? Qin Yun nodded, hoping that Garp would not look for trouble. He fought with Shanks in order to awaken the Conqueror's haki, but there would be no wool to be taken from Garp here. His observation haki spread out everywhere, and finally he found Garp in the bandit Daden's lair. He was sitting on a chair and sleeping at this time. Luffy, who was standing next to him, had a head full of bruises from being beaten by him. He was hanging on a tree with a stubborn look in his eyes. Qin Yun looked determined, turned around and looked at his concubines, and whispered, Garp is not my target. This time I am here to recruit the next goddess. Once I capture her, I will rely on you to do some psychological work on her. My lord god, are you not good at chasing girls? Robin smiled slyly and began to count the experiences of the god's concubines on his fingers. I was half coerced and half signed a contract. Nami, Vivi, Nijiko, and Kalina were all signed contracts. Michita and Marianu were forced as subordinates, and Tina was coerced. Upon hearing this, the goddesses stopped what they were doing and stared at Qin Yun with strange eyes. Don't you know whether I can do it or not? Qin Yun responded without changing his expression. The slow-paced pursuit is too inefficient. Time is precious. I like to get you first and then cultivate feelings and talk about other things. Marry first, then fall in love. The goddesses were thoughtful. At least it feels good for now, right? Qin Yun's method will only cause conflicts in the early stages, but the conflict will only happen this time. Once the other party truly becomes his divine concubine, she will become addicted to him. Moreover, those who actively pursue others often lose the initiative, and success or failure is controlled by the other party. His method of capturing the goddess's concubine by grasping the other party's needs or creating needs if there are no needs is much better. The initiative is always in his hands, and the success rate is 100%. As Qin Yun's good wife, Robin's words were not without purpose. One was to correct his distorted image in the eyes of the women, and the other was to bring together allies and let other goddesses help her influence the new goddess subtly. The world is so dark and chaotic. I just want to give my favorite concubines a home. As for the means, Is it important? What matters is the result. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Yun's lightning dissipated and he disappeared on the spot. Robin, who was sleeping lazily on the recliner, and several goddesses were left thinking quietly. Windmill Village, banquet bar. It was noon and the sun was shining brightly. There were only a few empty seats here and there in the venue, and the place was bustling with the sounds of chatting and shouting. There is only one bar in Windmill Village. Makino grew up in the village. He has a very good reputation and is very popular among the local villagers. Makino was behind the counter, humming happily while mixing the wine in his hand. Just then, the bell next to the bar door rang, and Qin Yun put one foot into the room. "Welcome, Tilda. What can I do for you, Tilda?" Makino subconsciously looked up and greeted him. "Yes, Tilda." Qin Yun waved his hand, and a gust of wind swept past, bringing fresh air to the alcohol-filled pub. He walked towards the chair in front of Makino step by step, and his domineering aura slowly unfolded, but it would not affect Makino in the slightest. Followed by several bangs hitting the table and the ground. The noisy chatter and shouting gradually died down. The diners all fainted. It has to be said that the domineering Haki is really a great tool for showing off. Makino opened her eyes wide and covered her mouth lightly, too frightened by the scene before her to dare speak. "Machino, give me a cappuccino." "No, I think it should be a glass of the drink you are best at mixing." Qin Yun finally sat down. His hand swept across the counter, and a high-quality gold bar appeared. It was his wine money. "They?" Makino was a little scared, even his voice trembled and his tone was hesitant. "Don't worry, they just fainted. Your choice will determine their life or death." "Ah, my choice determines their life or death. You're just going to keep an unexpected guest waiting?" The Makino people were numb. It was the first time they saw someone calling them uninvited guests. She glanced at the villagers who had fallen to the ground, then grabbed the shaker and began to use all her skills to mix her best drink. "Makino, she is kind, gentle and cheerful. She looks like a wife with a warm smile and is like the sister next door." Chapter 31 Customized Nickname. In a short while, Makino finished mixing the wine and served it. Qin Yun raised his glass and drank it, praising it. "Makino, you make really good drinks. Please be my divine concubine." "The concubine?" Makino was stunned. Seeing that he was well-mannered and handsome, she thought he must be a rich kid. However, his behavior and words were extremely overbearing. She smiled and responded, "Sir, are you kidding me? I am just an ordinary woman from a small village. Please don't tease me. This glass of wine is for you." "Do you think I'm joking?" Qin Yun swung his hand backwards, and the villagers in the field were swept away by the floating force and piled outside the bar. "Make your decision. Makino, think carefully. Their lives and deaths are in your hands." Makino bit her rosy lips, blinked her eyes pitifully, and held the hem of her skirt tightly with both hands. "Goddess, everyone's life and death. Oh, I heard that Mr. Barp is back. Will he be able to save me in time?" She was afraid that the other party might be moody and might kill her, so she didn't dare to delay any more. Instead, she closed her eyes, lowered her head, and responded with a trembling voice. "My lord, I am willing to be your divine concubine. A good person becomes a good wife. Makino is still too kind." "Wise choice." Qin Yun frowned, his observation Haki firmly locked onto a rapidly moving figure. "It's a pity that Garp came too quickly, otherwise I could have another drink." "Well, when we get back, just let Makino make as much as you want." He made a false grab with his right hand, then clenched it upwards suddenly. Pia-o, earth dragon tumbling. The next moment, the entire banquet bar and the surrounding land soared into the sky. Makino screamed, lost his balance in panic, closed his eyes and fell forward, but Qin Yun easily held on to his vital points. "Thunderbolt, let go of Makino." Garp roared to the sky, and he pulled up a tree and threw it towards the sky. However, he was afraid of hurting Makino, so he only dared to aim at the land below the tavern. Fistbone meteorite. God's judgment. Qin Yun mercilessly dropped thunder, and then the floating power controlled Makino's clothes, allowing her to keep her body steady in the tavern that was moving upward at high speed. God's judgment easily destroyed the tree, but was blocked by Garp's hand. The next moment, he dodged to the side and avoided the attack range of God's judgment. Before Garp had time to shake off the remaining heat on his hands, he was hit twice in a row by Qin Yun, who was gathering lightning behind him. Have you ever been struck by lightning? A low voice sounded in Garp's ears. Garp's face changed and he felt a pain in his lower back. He was kicked into the ground, creating a huge human-shaped hole and raising a large amount of dust. The force was so great that the entire windmill village seemed to be shaking. A strong wind suddenly arose and the dust was dispersed. Cap revealed his majestic figure. He looked at the tavern that had disappeared in the sky and cursed inwardly, thinking that he was still late. It's really hot, Thunderboy. Garp shook off his hand that had touched God's judgment, looking somewhat displeased. He no longer had the will to fight. The opponent's speed was beyond his ability to catch up, and the boy looked kind. He could only pray that Qin Yun would treat Makino well. You traveled all the way from the Grand Line to the East China Sea. Is it to kidnap Makino? Qin Yun remained silent. Although Garp was old, his powerful armament haki was still too strong. It was much stronger than the weakened Golden Lion. Unfortunately, he was unfortunate in his later years. 2 years later, in order to save the deserter King Kobe, he had to fight against the Blackbeard pirates alone. I'm afraid he will have to use his awakened purple-black lightning to break through his defense and cause damage. Seeing that he remained silent and just looked him up and down, Garp's mind suddenly echoed with Sengoku's previous instructions. So, he picked his nose and asked, "Kid, you won't join the 7 warlords of the sea, right? Come up with an impressive name, or I'll have Sengoku and the others put you on the wanted list. Otherwise, you'll be known around the world as the Electric Shock Kid." After saying that, he blatantly took out a den mushi and started making a call. Qin Yun curled his lips and did not comment. No wonder the Navy had not issued a bounty order for him. It turned out that they couldn't find him and were unwilling to give up. They were still thinking about having him join the 7 warlords of the sea. Wait, the Navy doesn't even know his name? Yes, except for the concubines of the gods and the people of the kingdom of God. All the others who knew his real name are dead. If the bounty issued gave him an ugly nickname, wouldn't it become his black history? Bulu bulu tilde boga tilde hey. Garp. Jan Guo. I encountered the Thunder Kid. He was too fast and I couldn't catch him. I was also burned by his lightning. I have to extend my vacation for a few more months tilde ha. He actually appeared in the East China Sea. Sengoku ignored Garp's teasing. God Qin Yun, this is my real name, Sengoku. I am not one of those pirate scums, so don't use the rubbish title of Shichibukai to recruit me. God. X2 what an arrogant boy. Don't think that you are the strongest person just because you ate the strongest natural devil fruit. As soon as Garp finished his taunting, he suddenly started snoring, with a bubble appearing at the tip of his nose, which made Qin Yun's mouth twitch. Just when Qin Yun wanted to give him an electric shock therapy, the den mushi began to imitate Jan Guo's movements vividly. You said you're not a pirate? Then wasn't your abduction of Marine Colonel Tina an act of a pirate? It was the world government's idea to recruit you. I will report your refusal to become a Shichibukai truthfully. You are not qualified to characterize my actions. In my opinion, I am redeeming her, freeing her from the quagmire of being a running dog of the celestial dragons, and elevating her to become my divine consort. Yu Sengoku was speechless, because the Navy was indeed the running dogs of the celestial dragons. I heard from Garp that you can customize nicknames here. Just write God Emperor on the bounty order, and set the bounty at 5 billion Baileys. Qin Yun did not argue with him anymore and stated the name he wanted to be known among the world. Boy, you really dare to give me a nickname. Do you know that once this nickname is released, the 4 emperors will hunt you down endlessly? Just let them come. Isn't that what you want to see? The Den Mushi opened its mouth blankly, speechless for a while. I wonder if Sengoku was shocked by the name he gave. After a few breaths, Guo began to speak again, but his tone suddenly became low. Tina's she okay? Her teacher Zepha is worried about her. Don't worry, Tina is fine. She is plump and white because of my care. Maybe he will be able to see my child with her next year. I will definitely invite you to the full moon banquet then. Okay. I will satisfy your request for the bounty, but 5 billion berries is impossible. Get ready to be hunted down by the 4 emperors. Guo was so angry at his arrogant tone that he laughed and hung up the phone directly. Boga tilde boo tilde the bubble burst and Cap woke up to the sound of hanging up. Chapter 32 Reactions from All Parties. Qin Yun nodded. Fortunately, Carp reminded him about his nickname. Otherwise, if a bounty hunter suddenly appeared on the road one day, shouting "Electric Boy, I found you," he was afraid that he would not be able to help but go directly to the Marine headquarters to fight. Everything was ready. Qin Yun flashed with lightning and prepared to leave. Wait, Carp's helpless voice sounded, causing Qin Yun to glance at him. Treat Makino well. Otherwise, I will catch you at the risk of my life. Ha tilde Qin Yun sneered lightly and then disappeared in the flash of lightning. At the Yakin Manor 10,000 meters above the sky, Makino's tavern was embedded by Qin Yun outside the manor. Qin Yun quietly appeared above the girls' heads and saw that Makino seemed at a loss under the concern of his consorts. Makino is kind and gentle, soft and cheerful, with a delicate face that looks submissive and easy to be bullied. I believe that with the help of Robin and others, he will be able to adapt to life here quickly. There was only one loser in this trip to Windmill Village, and that was red-haired Shanks. The next day, Qin Yun looked at Makino, who had changed into a dark blue tight suspender dress, and felt very satisfied. Shanks, I'm sorry, you can't control a virtuous beauty like Makino, so I'll take her away first. Akio. Shanks, who was about to enter the Grand Line, touched his nose, feeling that something important had left him forever. What's wrong, boss? The fat and thoughtful lackey pulled Shanks' shirt and tried to wipe his face. I don't know, maybe the weather is not good. Shanks quickly dodged to the side to avoid his enthusiasm. Lakaloo looked at the clear sky and nodded in agreement. A few days later, in the New World, the Whitebeard Pirates. Dad, the newspaper is here. There's some interesting news today. Captain Thatch of the 4th Division strode onto the deck of the Moby Sachai. Stop keeping us in suspense and read it out loud to everyone. That's right, we're all pirates now. How many of you can read? Gilala, Sachai, read it out loud. At this time, Whitebeard only had a shawl on his upper body, his face looked a little old, and he had intravenous strips and oxygen tubes inserted all over his body. Doctors and nurses were taking care of him. Upon hearing this, Sachai grabbed the newspaper and the bounty order in his hand, frowned slightly and read, "An existence that is superior to the 4 emperors. The Divine Emperor, God Qin Yun, the user of the Thunder Fruit." The first bounty was as high as 300 million berries, but the Navy only listed 3 crimes. He kidnapped a Marine colonel, attacked the hometown of Marine hero Garb, and is suspected of killing Shichibukai Crocodile. Does he really deserve the title of Divine Emperor? Let's wait and see. Thunder Fruit. Gilala tilde, what an incredible ability. Whitebeard smiled indifferently, raised the wine barrel and drank from it in big gulps, causing the young nurses beside him to look at him in anger. Whitebeard didn't care, but the other pirates were quite dissatisfied. Crocodile. Didn't he challenge my dad 20 years ago? I remember he was a self-righteous guy. He was very arrogant before the challenge, but after the challenge he was as embarrassed as a clown. The key's Qin Yun, right? The Navy actually gave him the nickname of the Divine Emperor. How much do they want this guy to die? Dad, our reputation cannot be challenged. Let me go to paradise and get that kid's head. Let me do it. He actually dared to attack my hometown. I will not let him go. Besides, my speedboat is much more flexible. It will only take a few days to get there. It's just right for us to go for a ride in the park. Asimo rubbed his hands, eager to give it a try. A duel between fire and thunder? I really want to see it. Marco touched his pineapple head, looking a little lazy. Gilal tilde God Emperor, go ahead, Ace, we have your back. Whitebeard readily agreed. Although he was old, he could still lift a knife. Even if Ace was defeated, who would dare to kill him? Wan Guo, Big Mom Pirates. Mom, the user of the Thunder Fruit. Why don't we recruit him to our team and increase the combat power of our top leaders? Charlotte Prospero stuck out her tongue expectantly as she waited for the aunt's reply. Mama Charlotte Lingling stared at the bounty order in her hand with her eyes as big as two copper bells. God Qin Yun, life or death is irrelevant. God Emperor God Qin Yun is the user of the Thunder Fruit. I don't think he is an ordinary human. Could he be a rare species? As someone who is determined to make all races in the world become family, she does not care about the title of Divine Emperor. Instead, she keenly realizes that Qin Yun seems to be special. That feeling was just like the joy she felt every time she saw a new race. Upon hearing this, Prospero looked at Qin Yun's photo in confusion. How come he couldn't tell that Qin Yun was a rare race? Mama, let's arrange a marriage. Let Pakmas go to him with the pictures of the girls and let him choose one. We can hold a wedding party at the next tea party. Yes. Mom. The country of Wano, the island of ghosts. The Thunder Fruit. I don't know if the strongest natural attack can kill. Mikaido's eyes were blurred, and he gulped down wine in a half-asleep state. Grand Line, a certain spring island. Only 300 million? You underestimate that man. Shanks smacked his lips and clinked his glass with the man next to him who was carrying a black sword. Oh, God Qin Yun, is he the person you met in the East China Sea? It's a pity that he is not a swordsman. Jorkal Mihawk glanced at it with his sharp eyes, and then became a little bored. Who knows if he can use a sword? I'm really looking forward to meeting him in the New World East China Sea, Kokoja Village. Before Yakin Manor flew over Nami's house, she couldn't wait to turn into a cloud and float down. Nokigo. Nami used up all her strength to shout. Nokigo, who was in the room, was startled and lost control of the dishes and chopsticks in his hands, which slipped onto the table. Stunned, she rushed out the door, looked up at the sky following the sound, and saw Nami's elemental form with the upper half of a human body and the lower half of a cloud. She was stunned at first, then smiled brightly. Nami, welcome back. Nokigo. Nami threw herself into Nokigo's arms and hugged her tightly. The two of them stopped talking, silently expressing the pain of the past years in their companionship. After an unknown amount of time, Nami regained her composure and raised her head and saw Qin Yun and the goddesses in the distance waiting quietly. She felt deeply moved and felt even more at home with Qin Yun. It's all over, Nami. A brighter future awaits us. Nokigo wiped away the tears that unconsciously appeared on Nami's face. He said this to Nami and also to himself. Nokigo, you're a little whiter than the last time I saw you. Nami quickly noticed the changes in Nokigo. Chapter 33, Nokigo and -039's changes. Nokigo touched his wheat-colored cheek, feeling a little unconfident. All of Qin Yun's concubines were stunning beauties with fair skin, beautiful faces and long legs, which made her feel a little ashamed. Click. The sound of the camera was heard. Hey, Qin Yun, what are you doing? I'll take a picture of you, and then I'll see how much you've changed. Oh, yes. Come on, Nokigo, I have prepared a devil fruit for you. Let Onii-chan give it to you. Nami reacted, her expression full of excitement. What? Go. Nami stood up and pushed the bewildered Nokigo and the smiling Qin Yun, and let them enter the room together. Is there anything I need to do? Noki lowered her head slightly, with a blush creeping up to the tips of her ears. No need, just watch me operate it. Qin Yun pulled the blue hair in front of her back and took her to sit on a chair in the living room. The next step is the engineering operation. Take out the slippery fruit and use the White Thunder plundering ability to hit Nokigo. The effect was immediate, and Nokigo's entire body was enveloped in the slippery power. Qin Yun narrowed his eyes and watched her figure and appearance gradually become more beautiful. The short blue hair began to grow longer until it reached the waist. The skin all over her body became smooth, firm, white, pure, and as delicate as a baby's. The tattoos disappeared. Among his concubines, only Canis and Kia can compare to her in terms of the whiteness of her skin. But it doesn't matter, because Nokigo can use the power of slipperiness to make other goddesses more perfect. In less than a moment, the slippery power completed its mission, and Nokigo revealed her stunningly beautiful and peerless charm. She looked like an invincible and enhanced version of herself 3 years later. Nokigo felt the wonderful changes in her body and opened her mouth. It seemed that there was a mysterious power in her body, which she used subconsciously. The next moment, screams were heard. She was not yet proficient in her fruit ability, and she made a mistake. Nokigo, don't get excited. Slowly get familiar with the extra power in your body and control it. Qin Yun covered his arms with his armed haki and stepped forward to support her unstable body. Nokigo had great talent, and with his assistance he quickly mastered the power of slipperiness. Is this the power of the devil fruit? Yes, this is the slippery fruit. You should get familiar with it in the next 2 days. Don't leave this room until you have mastered it. Okay. Nokigo naturally listened to what he said. You can come in. As soon as he finished speaking, Nami rushed in impatiently. Nokigo's scream made her worried, but she believed Qin Yun. Are you okay, Nokigo? Wow. Nokigo. Is the effect of the slippery fruit so powerful? Nami widened her eyes, unable to believe that the person in front of her was her sister whom she lived with day and night. Has it changed a lot? Nokigo was stunned. Qin Yun's fiery eyes and Nami's incredible expression made her feel shy. Look. Nami waved her hand and created a water mirror bordered by clouds in front of Nokigo. Nokigo subconsciously looked into the water mirror and was stunned. Looking at the extraordinary woman in the mirror, her mood at this moment soared to the sky as if she was sitting on Qin Yun. Qin Yun, Nami, thank you. When Nokigo came to her senses, the first thing she did was to express her gratitude. Without their help, she would not have changed to this point. What's there to thank us for? Nami pouted. You better familiarize yourself with the power of the fruit. Once you can use it, you can make us more beautiful. Okay. Nokigo couldn't stop smiling. The goddesses were still waiting outside. Today's theme was the reunion of Nokigo and Nami, and they had no intention of disturbing them. You two can catch up. I have something else to do. Yeah! The 2 girls knew that Qin Yun was actually fine, and this move was to create space for them to communicate privately. Qin Yun walked out of the house and nodded to the concubines. Then he flashed and came to Tina and Porky and took them to Yakin Manor. Not bad, Tina. I am very satisfied that you did not take the opportunity to escape. You did not violate the contract between us. It seems that I have to give you some rewards. Qin Yun stroked Tina's hair and found it extremely interesting to see her pretending to be stubborn, but enjoying the show and not resisting in her heart. Humph. Tina is not a treacherous person. Tina's face flushed, and her delicate little ears were covered with pink blush. Tina tilde, when we return to the kingdom of God, you can raise an army of women and enforce your justice in our country. HMPH. Even if Tina sits on the hot bench every day, she will not help you rule your kingdom of God. Tina's mouth was still so hard. The next morning, Qin Yun was awakened by Marianu. Qin Yun was a little confused, but soon noticed Machida, who was covering her mouth and laughing softly, and he understood, thinking that it was her idea. "Okay, Tilda. Let's get up and eat." Tilda, after saying this, Machida pulled Marianu and left. Qin Yun smiled helplessly, put on his clothes with the help of Tina and Porkai, and came to the yard to have breakfast with them. "Everything is ready and it's time to set off. Onii-chan, can you take me and Nijiko's orange orchard and house with you?" Nami hugged his arm and asked coquettishly. Of course. How could Qin Yun refuse the lovely Nami's request? Pia-o earth dragon tumbling. Soon, Nami's house and the orange orchard were integrated into Yakin Manor by Qin Yun. "Onii-chan, Tilda, you are so nice to me." Nami rushed into his arms happily. Qin Yun gladly accepted Nami's thanks. After counting the number of people and confirming that they were correct, Qin Yun controlled Yakin Manor and flew towards Rogue Town. Chapter 34, The King of Fraud, Qin Yun. Kakosha village is too backward, the news bird will never come, and Qin Yun doesn't even know whether the Navy has issued a bounty order. Therefore, he decided that when rushing to Rogue Town, Yakin Manor would always fly at the altitude where the news birds flew, so that it would be convenient for them to receive news. Goodbye, Kakosha village. Nami and Nijiko said goodbye to their hometown with complicated expressions. The villagers of Kakosha village were full of awe and gratitude towards Qin Yun. Nokigo had told them long ago that Qin Yun didn't like too many people disturbing him, so they didn't dare to disturb him and did not show up. On the way, Nokigo worked diligently to develop the power of slipperiness, and the tattoos on her and Nami's bodies were also removed with the power of slipperiness. Afterwards, he performed a preliminary beautification on Qin Yun's concubines, making their skin all over their bodies become equally firm and smooth. It is worth mentioning that Porch's distinctive pointed little nose, under the effect of the slippery force, has returned to normal level. The defects have disappeared, and her appearance has instantly risen to a higher level. A few days later, in the East China Sea, in the waters near Rogue Town. "Onii-chan, your bounty has been issued." At this moment, Nami happily flew into the cabin holding a newspaper and a bounty order. The sudden voice made Makino's heart tremble and he was startled. "Oh." Qin Yun raised his hand and looked at the bounty. "Why is it only 300 million Baileys?" Fortunately, the name was correct. Jan Guo is quite reliable when doing things. After cleaning the room, Makino left without talking to the two of them. Qin Yun did not stop her. After getting along with Robin and other goddess consorts, Makino had already faced the reality and assumed her job as a goddess consort. "But, wouldn't you become a pirate then?" Nami hated Arlong and his gang of pirates so much, and felt uncomfortable thinking that she might also become a pirate with a bounty on her head in the future. "Those with bounties on their names aren't necessarily pirates, like me, and Monkey D. Dragon from the Revolutionary Army." "Oh, right." Nami patted her head, feeling that she had fallen into a misunderstanding. "We're almost at Rogue Town. You've been clamoring to go shopping, right? You can ask who wants to go with you later. You won't be bored if you're in good company." Are there any candidates for the divine consort here as well?" "There is one, a Navy girl. After I kidnap her, there will be no more women in the East China Sea worth my attention." Many people said Dezea, but I checked the information. At this time, Dezea is not in Donghai. I will definitely collect it later. Navy. That's not bad. I can keep her and Tina company. As they talked, the two walked to the edge of Yakin Manor and looked at Rogue Town. Nami, Robin, and other goddesses who were planning to go shopping walked slowly to Qin Yun and the others. Most of them wore luxurious long dresses, showing their nobility and elegance as goddesses. Qin Yun looked at the girls' attire and nodded with satisfaction. When the goddesses and concubines travel outside, they always dress dignifiedly and elegantly and cover up the parts that should not be exposed. This is not only the code of conduct that the concubines of the gods consciously abide by, but also a manifestation of his possessiveness. Naturally, he was the only one who could see the private side of his divine concubines. We'll leave at noon, so don't be so happy that you forget the time. It probably won't be until noon. Rogue Town is just a small town. There will be nothing left after visiting the commercial street. Right. The pirate world is dark and chaotic. Only those relatively peaceful and stable big countries can develop business well and attract people to consume entertainment. Soon, Yakin Manor flew over Rogue Town. Let's go shopping. Tilda and Qin Yun nodded, and the goddesses flew down on the clouds created by Nami. The group of people riding on the clouds looked like fairies. He had already swept the entire Rogue Town and found no unexpected strong men such as dragons, so he was not worried about the safety of Nami and the others. So, Dashiki little cutie, here I come. The next moment, lightning flashed and Qin Yun disappeared on the spot. In Rogue Town, a weapon shop that sells only knives. Tashigi pouted and closed the door of the weapon shop. She had just seen the shop's treasure, the Snow Walker. Unfortunately, she had too little money and could not buy the Snow Walker. She turned around to leave, but her head suddenly bumped into Qin Yun, who just happened to appear nearby. Oops! Tashigi's red glasses were hit and fell to the ground. She quickly bent down, groping for her glasses with both hands. Her flustered movements caused the fullness of her breasts to be exposed, giving Qin Yun a lot of benefits. Here, Qin Yun admired the beautiful scenery and embarrassment for a while, then handed the glasses to her. Dashiki quickly took it and apologized while putting it on. I'm sorry, I was too reckless just now. Are you okay? I don't think I hurt you. Of course there is something wrong. My chest hurts when I was hit by you. You are a Navy officer, right? You have to take responsibility. Qin Yun, the king of scammers, said while covering his chest, pretending to be in pain. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Tashigi finally put on her glasses and hurriedly raised her head to check his injuries, only to find that everyone on the street was sleeping on the ground, not knowing whether they were alive or dead. She stared at all this in a daze, murmuring, What is going on? I'm not too sure either. Wait. Don't try to change the subject. Qin Yun raised his hand, pinched her chin, and straightened her face. This was of course the work of Qin Yun. There was no other way. The domineering aura could be activated with just a thought. It was so convenient. This way he could quickly create a world for only him and Tashigi. Tashigi struggled hard, but found that she couldn't get rid of his hand, so she took a few steps back and finally gained her freedom. She looked at Qin Yun angrily, but was stunned for a moment. She shook her head. How could the wanted criminal Qin Yun be here? He should be in the eastern part of the East China Sea. Don't worry, I will be responsible. What do you want me to do? Pay compensation or send her to the hospital for treatment? Dashiki grabbed the corner of her clothes with both hands and looked at him pitifully. You don't look like a rich man, do you? Well, how about this? You marry me and be my wife. This way, we can keep our family together and we don't have to worry about compensation. I think this is the first time we meet. I'm really sorry. Please allow me to refuse. Dashiki was dumbfounded. How could the other party say such unrealistic words? Although his appearance suited her taste, she had to continue serving as a sailor and had no time to plan her own marriage. You say you want to take responsibility, but you actually refuse? What's wrong with this being our first meeting? We'll get to know each other better after spending more time together. This Dashigi's mind started to get confused. Dashigi, a confused girl, kind-hearted, honest and selfless, with noble character, who considers the overall situation, can distinguish right from wrong, and has a brave and fearless girlish heart. Chapter 35. The Navy is just a group of dogs raised by the celestial dragons. As the saying goes, a good woman is afraid of being clingy. As the party at fault, Tashigi knew that she was in the wrong. It was the first time she had encountered such a thing and she didn't know how to deal with such a situation. But I'm a Marine, can't people in the Navy get married? Think about Vice Admiral Garp, Admiral Akenu and others. They are in high positions and have great power, but they still get married. Ah, this Dashiki was stunned. She always felt that something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Forget it. If you don't want to marry me, I can only use another method. What method? Dashiki's eyes lit up. As long as he stopped pestering her, she was afraid that she would not be able to bear it and would give in. If you don't agree to be my wife, I will destroy the navy of Rogue Town. If you agree to be my wife, it will be considered a contribution to the navy. Brother, are you kidding me? There was no reply. Qin Yun just stared at her seriously. Just when Dashiki's face flushed and she was a little at a loss, there were chaotic footsteps outside the street. Is it finally here, Tilda? Qin Yun raised the corner of his mouth slightly. So many people fainted on this street. Someone must have discovered the situation here and notified the Navy. However, Smoker's men are all ruffians with weak strength and bad attitude, so it is normal that they come late. A group of Navy soon appeared in front of the two men and surrounded them, but they did not dare to get close and left a large circle in the middle. Hey, Tashiki, come here. Smoker was holding 3 cigars in his mouth, his face looking serious. Ah, Dashiki still didn't understand what was going on. If you want them to die, just leave me alone. Qin Yun threatened indifferently. Qin Yun, why did a strong man like you come to the East China Sea? What did you do to Tina? Smoker gritted his teeth and hated himself for not learning Haki from teacher Zepha at the Naval Academy. Ha, Tilda, you recognized me, but instead of trying to stay away, you dared to come forward. Tilda, you are Qin Yun. Dashiki's eyes widened in disbelief. Have you been teasing me just now? How could that be? What I just said is true. Dashiki, be my divine consort. As long as you promise me, I can let the Navy of Rogue Town go. Qin Yun walked forward and placed his hands on her excited and trembling shoulders. An electric current passed through her, calming her mind. I damn it. Tashigi, don't agree to him. We would rather die than let the pirates succeed, Smoker said in a grim tone. Then you will die. There was a flash of cold light in Qin Yun's eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, Smoker felt his vision blurry and a sharp pain came from his head. He was mercilessly stepped to the ground by Qin Yun's foot covered in armed color. Even the ground beneath him was cracked irregularly by the powerful impact. Just like that, Smoker fell into a coma and lost consciousness instantly due to a severe blow to his head. Colonel Smoker, Tashigi and the Marines exclaimed in surprise. Qin Yun's eyes narrowed and an invisible wave spread out from him. The sailors who were swept by the wave all rolled their eyes, lost consciousness, and fell to the ground. For a while, there were continuous sounds of swords clanging on the ground and people falling to the ground with thuds. This what happened to them? Dashiki asked with anger in her eyes. Of course he fainted. Tashigi, I think you will make a choice that will satisfy me. Qin Yun raised his foot and passed Smoker's body and walked straight towards Tashigi. Why are you targeting me? Dashiki's voice trembled. Everything happened too fast and she didn't know what to do. Why? Because I am kind and want to save you from the suffering of the Navy. Ah, Dashiki was confused. How could he say that the Navy is a sea of suffering? She immediately retorted angrily, the Navy is the embodiment of justice. Becoming a pirate like you is like falling into misery. I'm not a pirate, I'm the god and emperor of the kingdom of God. Qin Yun pulled Tashigi up and took her to a coffee shop nearby to sit down. Have you not noticed that there is no one else in the Navy's top brass except Vice Admiral Tsuru and her sister Jin? What does this have to do with the Navy being a sea of suffering? That's because once the Navy's position is promoted to a certain level, almost to the rank of Major General, they may be assigned to protect the Celestial Dragons. Male Marines rarely get into trouble. After all, female Celestial Dragons won't let lowly ordinary people toy with them. But female Marines, As Qin Yun spoke, he forced Dashiki, whose pretty face was pale, to drink a sip of tea to help her calm down. If they don't have a background as solid as his, then no matter if they are male or female celestial dragons, as long as they take a fancy to a female marine, their fate will basically be to be treated as a slave and toyed with until death. Celestial dragons? How could it be? I have no need to lie to you. You will naturally understand the darkness of this world in the future. The Navy is nothing more than a group of dogs raised by the celestial dragons. Their duty is to protect the celestial dragons and maintain their rule. After hearing Qin Yun's explanation, Dashiki was stunned with lifeless eyes. Qin Yun was not in a hurry either. Her worldview was being impacted by the reality of the Navy, and her brain was shutting down, trying to digest the content of his words. After a while, Dashiki finally took action. She looked at Qin Yun with a gloomy expression and murmured, I understand. I am willing to be your divine consort, as long as you can follow the agreement and let the Navy of Rogue Town go. She figured it out. If what Qin Yun said was true, then her final fate would be to die in obscurity and humiliation. It would be better to surrender to Qin Yun and sacrifice himself in exchange for the survival of the Navy of Rogue Town, so that they can live with their own justice. Don't be so sad. After becoming my divine consort, you can still enforce your justice. When we return to my kingdom of God, I will let you maintain peace there. Yes, there was finally some light in the depths of Dashiki's eyes, no longer as dead as before. Qin Yun was not afraid that she could not bear the reality of the world. After all, the incident did not happen to her, and her experience was only superficial. After becoming his consort, they will only enjoy the beauty of the world and follow his steps to gradually change the world. They will be more confident about the future. Let's go. I'll go with you to see your hometown again. Get ready if you need anything. We'll leave the East China Sea at noon. Okay, Dashiki responded woodenly, but her body did not move. Qin Yun smiled helplessly, stood up and hugged her forcefully. Dashiki finally came to her senses. A blush appeared on her pale face, and she turned around awkwardly, a little uncomfortable with his intimate actions. Let's go, Qin Yun said, and his eyes casually glanced at Tina, who was following them silently in the distance. Chapter 36. Smoker, you have a grudge against me, right? Tina came when Qin Yun knocked the people on the street unconscious. She had been observing in the dark and was not even discovered by Dashiki when she entered the coffee shop. Qin Yun said these words not only to Dashiki, but also to Tina, just to make her recognize the nature of the Navy. When Tina saw Qin Yun coming, she nodded to him and left silently. She did not choose to stop Qin Yun's behavior, because she knew that she had saved the lives of her subordinates, and no one could change Qin Yun's decision. If she spoke out to stop it or plead for mercy, she would be the one who would suffer more. If she spoke out to stop him, she would probably be punished by Qin Yun. Just like that, Dashiki was half forced by Qin Yun to be carried out of the coffee shop. After coming back to her senses, she had a goal and began to walk on the streets of Rogue Town with Qin Yun. After walking for a while, they met Robin and his group. Oniai-chan. Wai Wei's surprised voice came, and she jumped to Qin Yun. He responded with a smile and touched her hair. Rogue Town is still too small, and it is easy to run into acquaintances after walking a few steps. At this time, there was a small cloud floating around each of them, filled with things, snacks, clothes, jewelry, and even a barbecue grill. They had cloud strings wrapped around their hands, and seemed to be able to easily carry the clouds while walking. Is she the Navy you're looking for? She looks so beautiful. Nami also came over enthusiastically and grabbed Tashiki's hand. That's right. Don't scare her. She's still confused now. Thank you, you are very beautiful too. Seeing that they did not seem to be pretending, Dashiki quickly responded embarrassedly. It seems that being Qin Yun's concubine does not mean she has fallen into the abyss. Nami, Vivi, don't disturb them. Let them enjoy their own world. Robin smiled and pulled Nami and Vivi back. Qin Yun, we are almost done with our shopping. Let's go back to have some barbecue first. If you two come back late, there won't be any left till it's okay. If I can't have the barbecue, I'll eat you. Qin Yun teased and signaled Dashiki to continue leading him away, while Robin gave him a coquettish look. Afterwards, Dashiki took him around Rogue Town and brought him to the naval base. After spending some time in the sword training ground where she liked to be alone, she returned to the dormitory, took her things, and said goodbye to Rogue Town. Qin Yun carried her back to Yakin Manor. Seeing that everyone was there, he had a barbecue dinner with the concubines. After eating and drinking, everyone went back to rest. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night for some people. For example, Dashiki, who had a flushed face and was holding Seo Shiger in the open space of Yakin Manor, and was trembling as she waved her sword to practice swordsmanship. In the second half of the night, Tina's newly awakened observation Haki discovered her, came to her side, and talked to her for a long time. There was also Smoker, whose eyes were red and whose table was covered with cigar remnants. After he woke up from a coma at night, he reported the situation to the headquarters, saying that he had been attacked by the God Emperor Qin Yun and wanted to give chase. However, the reply he got was to stay where he was and not allowed to pursue. This made him hate Qin Yun even more. Not only did he kidnap the Navy goddess Tina, but he also came to Rogue Town and snatched away his only female subordinate. Smoker cursed in his heart, "Damn Qin Yun, you have a grudge against me, right?" Qin Yun didn't know about Smoker's inner collapse, but he felt comfortable anyway. Smoker was too weak and not worthy of being taken seriously by him. While Qin Yun was recovering his mental state, he controlled Yakin Manor to speed up through the doldrums. All the beauties in the East China Sea who could bring him advancement and who he could afford to please have been included in his team of goddesses. Of course, there are still a few beauties from the East China Sea who need to be taken care of, but most of them have already left the East China Sea and need him to meet by chance in the future. Now is the time to return. A few days later, the sky was blue and the breeze was not dry. Grand Line, Gaia Island, Magu Town. This is the other half of the island of the sanctuary of Arpeodo, which has now become an illegal place where pirates gather and party. Yakin Manor was suspended in the air 1,000 meters high. Qin Yun's observation Haki swept the Gaia Island below wantonly, and even the ships in the port were not spared. Unfortunately, although there are many pirates here, most of them are small minions without any fruit abilities, so he has no interest in going down to take a look. Thunder Pio Pio Power. Boom! Exclamation, exclamation. A ball of scattered lightning with floating power bombarded the center of Gaia Island. Some unlucky pirates were unable to dodge and were turned into charcoal on the spot. The power of Pio Pio quickly spread throughout the entire island, and the unconscious bodies connected to the island were also invaded and controlled by Qin Yun. Pio Pio Earth Dragon tumbling. The next moment, Gaia Island began to tremble violently, and the underwater land gradually emerged from the water. After being freed from a certain degree of water pull, the island quickly rose in height, but the pirates on the island were in a miserable state. Hey, are you kidding me? What happened on Gaia Island? Oh my god, I just got here today. How come I have to deal with this? Could it be a rushing ocean current? The pirates were forced to crawl on the ground, with their fingers firmly embedded in the ground for fear of being thrown out accidentally. The speed of the island was getting faster and faster. Some pirates who were not strong enough could not stand the high-speed pressure. They vomited black blood and fell into a coma. After an unknown amount of time, Gaia Island finally crossed the 7,000-meter-high White Sea, and then crossed the meter-high White Sea, and arrived at Qin Yun's Kingdom of God. The location of Gaia Island happened to be not far from Arpeado, and the two together formed an island shaped like a skeleton. Qin Yun's concubines were protected by his Pio Pio power, and they reached the Sky Island safely without any movement at Yakin Manor. At this time, their noses are covered by a small cloud, providing them with gradually attenuated oxygen, which will eventually disperse when it reaches a certain level. This is because the air on Sky Island is thinner than that in Qinghai. If ordinary people suddenly come here, they will become weak because they cannot adapt to the environment. Just as Qin Yun reached the edge and felt the floating islands plundered from the Golden Lion, he subconsciously looked at Arpeado. That's God. Lord God. Oh, my Lord God. I want to give birth to a son of God for you. On the edge of Arpeado Island, the residents of God's kingdom cheered excitedly, and some of the innocent little girls even said things that embarrassed the adults. Directly in front of them, the gods' guards were lined up in neat rows, and each soldier was wearing armor shining with divine light. The symbol of the kingdom of God is engraved on the armor, white angel wings spread on both sides, with the word God written in the middle, which is also the pattern on the flag of the kingdom of God. Their faces were grim and determined as they waited for God's inspection. Chapter 37 Connie and 039's Joy. Qin Yun curled the corners of his mouth. This was the sense of ruling the extraordinary world. All the subjects would passionately carry out his will. He took a step forward, raised his hand and pressed it, and the sound coming from Arpeado subsided instantly. Divine soldiers, did you see the island that suddenly appeared? Go up and deal with all the bodies up there. For those who are still alive, put them in divine ropes and lock them up in the prison. Before I give you my order, make them mine for atonement. Obey the oracle. God's guards shouted in unison. As soon as he finished speaking, the divine soldiers took out their cloud shells and shot out iron cloud tracks that connected to Gaia Island. With a light leap, they slid down the iron cloud to Gaia Island and began to carry out orders ruthlessly. Cisos, go inform the priests and ask them to go to the palace and wait for the emperor to come. Yes. Cisos, captain of the 3rd Squad of God's Guard, bowed and accepted the order. Qin Yun ignored his people's pleas to stay and continued to control Yakin Manor to fly towards the temple. The magnificence and grandeur of Sky Island were all seen by the goddesses, who expressed amazement and delight from time to time. After flying for a while, Kilina's delicate body suddenly trembled, which made Nami beside her stunned for a moment, and she found that her eyes were filled with the light of Bailey. Nami quickly waved her hand to create a water mirror. Bailey was also in her eyes, because they saw Qin Yun's palace, which was filled with precious light emitted by gold. You too. You wouldn't be shocked by the scene in Qin Yun's kingdom of God. Robin covered her mouth and chuckled. She had already mastered the ability to remain calm. I think they are trembling with excitement at the thought of following Onii-chan forever and having endless Baileys to spend in the future. Vivi reached behind them and patted their raised buttocks with her hands. HMPH. I don't think you know the charm of money. You have been a princess since you were a child. You are not like us who live a hard life every day and travel on the sea to make a living. That's it. Nami and Kilina fought back with their claws, using tickling torture. While the girls were playing, Yakin Manor had reached its destination and was connected by Qin Yun to the outskirts of the temple. You can walk around freely, just be careful. Qin Yun instructed, and then with a flash of lightning, he disappeared on the spot. All the goddesses wear the goddess badge, which contains his thunder power and is easy to identify. The angels from the temple had gathered around and began to obey their orders. Shrine, the bedroom of gods. Canis gently stroked the harp in her hand and played Time for Joy, while Lackey listened attentively beside her. At this moment, the piano music stopped abruptly. Canis's face showed an unconcealable joy. She discovered Qin Yun's figure with her observation haki. Behind him, there were many peerless goddesses wearing the badge of the goddess concubine. My Lord Gachi quickly walked to a mirror and looked at her petite figure. Perfect. Connie tilted in less than a moment. She was embraced by Qin Yun, who appeared in a flash, and a familiar smell rushed into her nostrils. God. Your little angel misses you so much. Canis raised her head with tears in her eyes, hugged her arms around Qin Yun's neck, and devoted herself to him wholeheartedly, giving him everything she had. Qin Yun didn't waste any words and hugged her gently. Lackey stood there awkwardly, not knowing whether to leave or stay. Lackey and Qin Yun had only known each other for too short a time, which led to them not being that familiar with each other. But it doesn't matter. This timid look is also a kind of fun for Qin Yun. The next morning, Qin Yun was still in a daze. "My lord god, are you awake?" The familiar soft, gentle and dull sound came into Qin Yun's ears. Connie, after Qin Yun had eaten and drunk his fill with the service of the angels, he finally remembered his business. "Call all the consorts to the main hall." The angels followed their instructions and split up to move around in the harem, each leading a concubine to the main hall. After that, Qin Yun didn't need to do anything. Kaniz and Lackey automatically became familiar with them. After waiting for a while, Qin Yun saw that it was almost done, so he gave the order, "Tina, let Dashiki assist you to select some women from the Kingdom of God to form a goddess guard to maintain the stability of the Kingdom of God. Wai Wei will be the queen in the future. You can follow Canis and Lackey to give orders to the gods' decision-making group. Robin, you stay the same as always. Just control the Baroque studio, gather intelligence, and let them accumulate wealth." After simply assigning some easy tasks to the goddesses, Qin Yun brought Nami to the palace. The priests had been waiting since yesterday and finally saw Qin Yun's arrival. They all bowed and shouted excitedly, "Your Majesty the Emperor! Any news from Visalia, the small island of Sky?" Ohm stepped forward and began to report. "Yes, Jedis found out in the Seven Waters that Visalia appeared in the Spring Queen City, St. Pablo, a month ago, but they only stayed for a moment before leaving them. So what's the use of this news? A month is enough time for them to drift to the new world." This we asked for the phone number, but the other party refused. "Maybe they don't answer unfamiliar numbers, never mind." Qin Yun was helpless. The small sky island Visalia was made up of mostly clouds and a small part of land. Their location was quite difficult to find, and it all depended on the will of the scientists on the island. It seemed that if he wanted to find Visalia, it would be easier to start with the bear. Qin Yun tapped lightly on the dragon throne with his fingers. The 4 great priests and 3 captains of the divine soldiers who were kneeling on the ground below felt their hearts pounding. "Did you get the book on shipbuilding?" "Got it." Qin Yun nodded. These instructions were issued on his way to capture the goddess. With such a convenient thing as Den Den Mushi, he would certainly make good use of it. He even often played at night while talking on the phone with Connie, and she would always shyly cheer him on in a low voice. However, something unexpected happened when we went to the Seven Water capital. Why are you breathing heavily when you speak? Let Shira speak." Upon hearing this, Shira quickly responded, "When we went to Qinghai, we encountered a navy from the G8 branch. They attacked us as soon as they saw us." "What's going on? You're not pirates. How did you get caught by the navy?" "I'm not sure. Maybe the navy thinks we are suspicious, so we defeated them and captured some navy soldiers, which resulted in a bounty being put on several of us. The G8 branch of the navy isn't that the place where Luffy and his crew fell after landing from Sky Island. When the priests went to Qinghai, they rode on the Octopus Baron, and when they returned to Sky Island, they used the strong ocean currents and the tamed super-fast shrimp." Chapter 38 threatened Doflamingo. Among the captured navy, the Angel Guard captured 2 beautiful women. Shira quietly looked up at Qin Yun's expression, and seeing that he was still expressionless, he breathed a sigh of relief and continued. Gloria felt that it was a waste of resources to let them go mining, so the 2 female marines were taken to the foot of the sanctuary. "Gloria is the captain of the Angel Guard. We, the subordinates, dare to ask your Majesty to accept 2 female navy women as concubines to preserve our loyalty." Am I that kind of person?" Qin Yun pretended to be displeased. "Of course not. This is all our own decision. Well, it's rare that you guys are so kind. so I can't refuse bring them both up here, and don't do it again next time. Yes, Your Majesty, there is a survivor on the island you captured yesterday. Bring them all up here. Yes, sir. Shira turned and gave a look. Understood and backed out of the palace. After Qin Yun enjoyed Nami's cloud massage for a while, came back with a few people. 2 female sailors were guarded by an angel respectively, and a weak-looking man was escorted by divine soldiers. The reactions of the 2 female Navy officers were also very interesting, one with anger in her eyes and the other looking timid. Is this the god they were talking about? It seems I think it's acceptable, Gloria. I didn't expect you to have such good taste. Qin Yun ignored the poke on his back given by Nami and looked at the 2 female Navy officers with interest. One of them he knew. Her name was Jessica, and she was supposed to be the wife of Jonathan, the commander of the Navy's G8 branch. She was a little cook, with blonde hair and red lips. She looked cold, but her eyes were very charming, which was exactly the type he liked. I just don't know whether she and Jonathan have become boyfriend and girlfriend at this point in time. If it has become, as long as Your Majesty is satisfied. Gloria smiled happily. She was stout and strong, comparable to the obese sadly. Qin Yun waved his hand, and the angels on both sides came forward to take the 2 female sailors and took them to the Jie Palace behind the Imperial Palace. Seeing this, Shura introduced him. Your Majesty, his name is Bellamy, and he is the user of the spring fruit. His subordinates said he has a bounty of 5,500 million berries. Bellamy Doflamingo. Qin Yun's eyes lit up. It looked like something fun was going to happen. Wake him up. Yes. The magic soldier beside Bellamy directly sent 2 big bags to Bellamy, making him wake up in a daze, and then his face was full of gloom. Bellamy, I heard that you are Don Quixote Doflamingo's subordinate. Have you contacted his den mushi? No. Bellamy roared as if he was holding back his anger, and then he got the slap in the face that he loved. There was a snapping sound, his face turned red, and the anger in his eyes almost burst out. Your Majesty, this den mushi was found on him. After the divine weapon was used, he took out a den mushi from his arms that looked like Doflamingo. Are you still lying even though you've come this far? It seems like you haven't suffered enough. Qin Yun hooked his finger, and the den mushi left the palm of the divine weapon's hand, flew to the small table in front of him, and automatically called Doflamingo. Damn it! Tell me if you have the guts. Before Bellamy could finish his words, his mouth was blocked by the divine soldier with iron cloud. Bulu tilde boga tilde hey, Bellamy. I think I told you not to call unless it's important. Didn't you find the devil fruit? Don Quixote Doflamingo, your dog is a little blind. He actually dared to come to my territory and run wild. Hey, who are you? Veins popped out on Doflamingo's forehead. Knowing his identity, he dared to speak like that. It seemed that he was no ordinary person. My name is God Qin Yun. If you can't give me a satisfactory compensation, I don't mind going to Dressrosa to play with you. Okay. Doflamingo subconsciously took out Qin Yun's bounty order from under the table. Although the thunder fruit was very intimidating, the battle record written on it was very ordinary, not enough to make him afraid. Okay, why don't you join my Don Quixote family? Then, you can take whatever you want from the family. There's no need to say more about recruiting. Just compensate me with the 3 devil fruits and your subordinates Baby 5, Violet, and Monet, and I'll let this matter go. Sugar is Doflamingo's trump card, so there's no need to test it. Doflamingo was stunned for a moment after hearing such arrogant words. Qin Yun had such a big appetite. He wanted to slaughter him like an enemy. Your Excellency is really asking for too much. These 3 are my beloved family members. How can I possibly use them as compensation? Bellamy's worth is not even as good as a devil fruit. I think you are here to cause trouble. Qin Yun threatened directly. If you haven't sent the compensation to Paradise and contacted me before I go to the New World, I will go to Dressrosa to get it myself. Pat Tilda after hanging up the phone, he knew without thinking that Doflamingo was furious. But it didn't matter. It would depend on whether he was smart enough next. Bellamy, go ahead. Maybe you can see Doflamingo before you're reincarnated. Qin Yun threw out a bolt of lightning that pierced Bellamy's head, and then the white lightning swept past, pushing the ability of the spring fruit into Gloria beside him. Gloria, accept God's gift. Gloria was stunned, feeling the wonderful power surging through her body, and tried to use it. The next moment, she jumped up suddenly and was slapped out of the palace by Qin Yun. Go outside and experiment with your abilities. After a while, Gloria became familiar with the power of the spring and bounced back to the palace. Her face was filled with uncontrollable joy. She never expected that by pleasing Qin Yun, she could gain the divine power bestowed by him. The other priests looked at her with envy, secretly hating why it wasn't the female navy they discovered. The divine power bestowed by this emperor does not have the disadvantages of demonic power. If you develop it well, you will definitely be able to transcend mortals in the future. Yes. Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, God. Qin Yun then assigned some tasks, such as asking them to remove all poisonous plants on the Golden Lion's floating islands. After doing all this, Qin Yun came to the back of the palace. What happened next was not suitable for Nami to see, so she was sent back to the shrine. Imperial Palace, Jai Hall. Footsteps sounded and Qin Yun strode in. Jessica and another female marine were handcuffed and looked depressed as they were guarded by two angels. Hearing the voice, they subconsciously raised their heads and looked at the man who decided their fate. What are your names? Qin Yun sat on the soft couch beside him, took the wine glass handed to him by the angel, and shook it gently. Chapter 39 The Magical Uses of Flowers and Fruits. After a brief silence, the two women finally said their names. Jessica, Kobat. Qin Yun waved his hand, and the angels came forward to take off their handcuffs, then left the hall and closed the door considerately. The sound of the door closing made Jessica and Kobat tremble slightly, and they unconsciously licked their slightly dry lips. My name is Shen Qin Yun, and I am the god and emperor of the kingdom of God. You two don't have to be afraid. Let me introduce myself first. Jessica and Kobat looked at each other, not knowing how to start. Seeing this, Qin Yun directly assigned the task. Jessica, you first. Jessica suppressed her worries and said with a forced smile, I'm a chef at the Navy headquarters. I was supposed to be the head chef at the Navy G8 branch, but I didn't expect to be captured on the way. Qin Yun nodded and turned his gaze to Kobat. I am a pediatrician at the Navy headquarters. I was assigned by the headquarters to work at the Navy G8 branch, but it looks like you have accepted your identity. Yes, they said as long as we behave like the gods' concubines, they will not kill the captured Navy. Have you ever had any experience with the opposite? No. Qin Yun smiled with satisfaction. It seemed that Jessica had been snatched away by him. Come up, let me help you secure your status as God's concubine, so that you can gain relative freedom. Upon hearing this, the two girls blushed and lowered their heads timidly without moving. Qin Yun shook his head helplessly. It seemed that he had to take the initiative in these matters. So, he stepped forward and poured them a glass of red wine as the two women exclaimed, saying, Drink this glass of wine, and you will be mine. From now on, you will be under my protection. Yeah. Upon hearing this, the two women nodded and drank the wine. In the next few days, he first injected all the territories of Sky Island with the power of floating, allowing Sky Island to float towards the Seven-Water City. As the birthplace of the compass bird, it is impossible for Sky Island to lose its way due to the chaotic magnetic force of the Grand Line. As for what will happen to future pirates, such as Luffy, after Qin Yun takes away Jaya Island and Sky Island, who cares? After leaving the Sky Island, the magnetic forces will influence each other and form a new route, allowing the recording pointer to continue pointing. Similarly, if the Sky Island arrives in a new world, it will affect the local magnetic force and become the island pointed to by the recording pointer. After setting sail from Sky Island, Qin Yun began a period of leisure time, and Marianu became a true goddess. Jessica used to be the head chef of the Navy headquarters. She was appointed by Qin Yun as his personal cook to cook for him and the concubines personally. The next day, Qin Yun was grateful that Lackey had always been well behaved in front of him and had diligently helped Canis manage the Sky Island, so he decided to promote her from a god's servant to a god's consort. At noon, Jessica used ingredients from Sky Island to prepare a large table of delicious meal and then invited all the girls to share the delicious food. During the meal, Qin Yun did not forget to remind Nijiko to use the power of the slippery fruit to help the goddesses in need or the new goddesses. All the clouds on Sky Island were under Nami's control. Qin Yun asked her to inject cloud power and transform a large number of clouds into floating clouds. His people can use the cloud storage shells to store some Piao clouds, and then ride the Piao clouds back to Sky Island. After a few days, Qin Yun felt that he couldn't go on like this, so he started to get down to business. He plundered the fruit abilities of Robin, Tina, and Machida and transferred them to fruits. Then he suddenly had an idea and took advantage of their weakness after their fruits were plundered and used the special ability of the thunder fruit to help them relieve their weakness. A magical thing happened. Their feeling of weakness disappeared. This discovery seems useless at the moment, but after plundering the fruits of the prospective goddesses, I can use this to eliminate their weakness. Then Qin Yun returned the fruit power to them. After he passed it on to them, they were no longer afraid of the disadvantages of the devil fruit. A few days later, Sky Island crossed the Long Chain Island and arrived above the Seven Water City. Qin Yun was woken up by the robins. After finishing his morning work, the robins took the food on the table one by one and fed him. Robins? That's right. The power of the flower fruit is endless. Robin can use the power of the flower to make any part of her body grow on any tangible object within her sight. For example, growing hands on the table, growing a mouth on her hand, etc. With a hint of weirdness in the weirdness. There is nothing that cannot be done as long as you can think of it. These body parts can be used for attacking, eavesdropping, peeping, etc. Robin usually cannot use these functions in front of Qin Yun. All the transformed body parts are connected to the original body, which means that the robin's feelings will be transmitted to the original body. After eliminating the disadvantages of the devil fruit, under the guidance of Qin Yun, Robin's fruit development speed was improved to a higher level, and she was able to basically use all the skills 2 years after the war at the top. These robins are the clones that Robin grew with the help of the power of the flower fruit. Robin was lazily reading a book in the distance, driving the clones created by her power of the flower fruit to do things. My god husband Tilda, we have arrived at the Seven Waters City. Tilda, the charm in Robin's words always made Qin Yun's heart itch. Well, when I come back, I'll give you a surprise gift. Oh, then I'll have to look forward to it for a while. Let's go. If we don't leave now, I will miss today's banquet. Robin chuckled, patted him gently, then considerately helped him dress for going out and pushed him out of the room. With a flash of lightning, Qin Yun disappeared from the spot and appeared at the edge of the Sky Island. He opened his arms, let go of the control of his body, and fell headfirst. The strong wind blew past his ears. Qin Yun descended faster and faster, and a feeling of freedom arose spontaneously. The shock and joy when he first arrived at Sky Island, the pleasure and arrogance of gaining power, the layout and planning to capture the goddess. He knew that as long as he proceeded steadily and at his own pace, everything was possible. After today, he will take a big step forward on his path to becoming stronger by capturing the goddess, and on his path to achieving immortality as a god. Closer and closer, the door-to-door fruit. Bruno Bar, Central Street, Seven Waters. Bruno slowly wiped the wine glass in his hand. As a spy of CP9, he had been living for several years in order to obtain the design drawings of Pluto from Expago. However, 3 years passed, actually 5 years. Bruno was stupid and couldn't count, and there was no update on the progress of the mission, but his bar grew bigger and bigger, and the money he earned was higher than the salary offered by the world government. Jessica, Qin Yun's multi-purpose little cook, with a queen's body and a playful heart, a strong temper but considerate. Kobat, he is friendly and skilled in medicine, but as a doctor he is afraid of blood and always looks shy. Chapter 40, Door Fruit. He has already made a plan. After retiring from CP9 in 2 years, he will return here and open a bar as a boss. At this moment, he felt a headache and then fell into a deep coma. Similarly, the guests in the bar and nearby residents also fell asleep. The lightning gathered, and Qin Yun appeared beside Bruno, retracting his domineering aura and leaving behind an electromagnetic field that interfered with the equipment. He couldn't wait to pinch the white thunder in his hand and slap it towards Bruno, plundering the power of the door fruit. After that, he experimented with the power of the fruit, and then he was satisfied and killed Bruno. He burned him to ashes and dissipated into the air. In his opinion, the Men fruit and the Thunder fruit are both extremely invincible abilities. It can open the door anywhere and go in and out freely. This sentence alone makes it invincible, but its abilities are more than that. It also adds a buff. It can create a door no matter how hard or non-objecty the target is. Not only that, it can also create doors according to the ideas of the user. What do you mean? This means that the Men fruit is a fruit that reflects the size of the imagination and the strength of the user. Qin Yun could think of several incredible abilities just by thinking about it. For example, he could create a portal to another dimension and wrap himself inside it, so that any attack hitting him would disappear without a trace. Qin Yun was trembling all over, and only calmed down after 3 breaths. He couldn't help but sigh that it was fortunate that the one who took the door fruit was Bruno, a simple-minded, strong-limbed waste. This idiot, all he does is open and close the bar every day and doesn't even bother to develop the fruits of his labor. An ability that can turn the world upside down was swallowed by such an iron genius. All I can say is that he used all his luck to eat the Men fruit and forgot to increase his intelligence. He didn't even dodge or evade, and instead used the power of his fruit to block Luffy's attack, leading to his own defeat. Qin Yun moved his mind, and the door to the other dimension swallowed him in. This is a different space with green as the main color. You can see the outside world and move around freely without being affected by the outside world. With a flash of lightning, Qin Yun turned into thunder and came to the base of Frankie's family. The domineering aura rushed towards Frankie's family from another space through the air gate he opened in the void. The Conqueror's haki that he had just awakened was enough to fight red-haired Shanks on equal terms, and now he has mastered it even more. I'm afraid that even if an ordinary lieutenant from the Navy headquarters came, he would tremble and be unable to move under his domineering aura. Not to mention the fragile Frankie family in front of them. They had no idea what was happening and fell into a permanent coma. Qin Yun emerged from the alien space, appeared next to the unconscious Frankie, and waved at him. Door, open the door. A blueprint just lay quietly in Frankie's abdomen, defenselessly waiting for him to take it. This is the importance of intelligence. The design of Pluto is in hand. Qin Yun flipped through the pages and found that he could only understand some of the content, such as what the pictures looked like. Forget it. Leave professional matters to professionals. If the Pluto under Wano country is still usable, he doesn't need to ask his subordinates to build Pluto. He just needs to repair Pluto according to the blueprint. Goodbye, Frankie. Thunder method tribulation and destruction. Silent thunder burst out from Qin Yun's body. All the people present were unconsciously defeated by the extinction black thunder and turned into wisps of dust that drifted in the air. Frankie, the future shipwright of the Straw Hat Pirates, dies. Pio Dai Huan. Door, different space. Qin Yun turned around and entered the different space. After a few breaths, the land around here seemed to come alive, like a huge mouth of an abyss, swallowing the Frankie family's base into it. Everything fell silent. The Frankie family's base disappeared, leaving only the newly renovated flat ground, which felt extremely strange. Pia Ragnarok. An inexplicable force is brewing in the sea. Aquila Ladna, the gods of water, is awakened by Qin Yun and is about to set off a huge wave. In an office on the top floor of the Seven Water City, the president of Kara Corporation, Espagu, was staring at the rising sun in the sky in a daze. Why is the sun setting? Puzzled thoughts lingered in Espagu's heart, and a bold guess emerged in his mind. It can't be Aquila Ladna. He rejected this idea as soon as it came to his mind. You know, Aquila Ladna attacks the Seven Water City once a year, but it had already done so 6 months ago. It should be just a small wave, but since he saw it, he cannot ignore it. This is his responsibility as the mayor of the Seven Water City. Espagu knew he couldn't wait any longer, so he turned around and shouted, "Khalifa." No one responded. He frowned. Secretary Khalifa's attitude towards work was extremely serious, comparable to his. He waited for a while, called out a few more times, and then reluctantly picked up the Den Mushi and tried to dial Thunder Method Tribulation and Destruction. No warning. The black lightning magnified in Espagu's pupils and lasted forever in an instant. He turned into ashes without any pain. Qin Yun grabbed the unconscious Khalifa and silently left the alien space. The Menmen fruit is also very useful for carrying out assassination missions. The enemy has no idea where Qin Yun is and may attack from some strange place. Using the same method, he has assassinated Kaku and Rob Lucci one after another. He also took advantage of the opportunity to steal Rob Lucci's devil fruit, the animal-type cat fruit, the leopard form. At this time, Kaku and Khalifa had not yet obtained the devil fruit. They both gained their abilities after returning to Judicial Island after capturing Robin. They are too weak now, and killing them is as easy as drinking water for Qin Yun. Unfortunately, the possibility of conquering them is too low. Because they have lived under the discipline of the world government since childhood, the idea of protecting the celestial dragons and obeying orders has been instilled in their minds. They have no other goal except to carry out their mission. This is also why after being framed by Spandam and hunted by the world government and the Navy, they still chose to go back to being dogs and became CP0 2 years later. Unless he has the observation haki that can change the other party's mind like Princess Autoheim of Fishman Island, or the memory fruit of Big Mom's daughter Charlotte Pudding, he will not be able to forcibly subdue CP9. When Spandam finds out what happened here, he will surely be furious and will put all the blame on the missing Rob Lucci and others. While thinking, Qin Yun flew over the Seven Water City. The huge waves in the distance had completely taken shape, roaring and surging. Why? Why would Aquila Ladna attack the Seven Water City again? Alright legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.